Peer review. The motion on approval for the minutes. Jenny, Doug, and then all in favor? Yep. Aye. It's approved. We had 2 work sessions this week. Valley Commons and High Tech Products. Do we have anything on the schedule for the next work session?
We've got a few things we're working on, right? We're not going, let's go. We'll go over that tomorrow with you guys. Today was the deadline.
First on the agenda tonight, we're gonna do public hearing for Woodchuck Hill. I'm gonna ask, is the applicant here?
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna ask you to do just a quick update as to where you stand. 3 minutes. A long one, update us on where everything is, and then we'll open it up for public hearing.
Sure. My name is Nathan LaPierre. I'm with Dublin Freeman Associates. I was taking notes. I can give you my card for the minutes.
You also have the. Doug. We pull the screen for.
Did you bring your drawings with you?
Yes, they haven't changed. We have the flash drive with those drawings.
Goes right in the back of the TV there.
Great. Okay. Okay, so our drawings haven't changed in the last couple of months. But I'll give you a brief rundown.
Would you mind introducing yourself again?
Sure, my name is Nathan LaPierre, Keplinger Freeman Associates. So the drawings haven't changed the last couple of submissions, but I'll give you a brief rundown on the project and where we stand. It's a 10.8 acre parcel, and we're proposing 8 single-family lots on Woodchuck Hill Road. Incorporated into this plan will be a cul-de-sac, and that will be a public road. Each lot will have a septic system, but they're all connected to municipal water. The square footage of these lots range anywhere from 30,000 square feet at the smallest to almost 80,000 square feet at the largest. So you're just under an acre and just under 2 acres at the largest. So some of the items that were hanging up there was the road name. So we submitted to the agency, the county agency, and the selected road name is now Woodchuck Estate Circle, and that's shown on the plans. The second item, and probably the biggest, is the septic approval with the county health department. They have reviewed the plans, they requested paper copies for their final stamping, but they're waiting just on the town of Doyle Water Department approval. We circulated those plans, we're just waiting for a response. I think that was really it on comments from Mark Parrish and the board.
Great. Thank you.
And one other thing, I was just thinking if, I know we're probably not in the position tonight for a full approval, but if you could do a preliminary approval contingent on those few items, that would be appreciated.
I think we're gonna do public hearing tonight. I think we have you slated for the 25th to do the preliminary.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, at this time, I want to open it up for any. Make a motion. I would like to open it for the public hearing. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing? Joe? Kevin, second. All there. Is there anyone here from the public to speak? Well, you need to come up to the front, state your name and address.
Would you like me to stay up here to answer any questions?
No, you can. Great.
Hi, good evening. My name is John Riccio, Dr. John Riccio. I'm the president of the DeWitt Fish and Game Club. We are the immediate neighbors to the proposed subdivision to the east. We're a 45 acre active gun club. And I would just like to remind the planning board, as you well know, that this proposed subdivision is going to be nestled between an active quarry and an active gun club. We had been in contact with, I guess, the previous owner, Mike Wilson. I would just ask, has the sale gone through, or is the sale contingent on the outcome of the planning subdivision decision? So in essence, who owns the
Sale's
property
gone
right
through
now?
on the current owner of the property.
You're the current owner of the property? Okay. Obviously, we can't object to this subdivision since we don't own the property, but I just want to remind the planning board exactly where it's located. It's located between an active quarry and an active gun club. Our gun club has been in continuous business for 90 years, and the quarry's been there even longer than that. The quarry occasionally dynamites. The quarry has an active shooting range for the DeWitt Police, and our club shoots during the season at least 4 days a week. There have been previous complaints made to our club. There have been at least 2 lawsuits against our club for noise violations. One in the early 90s, we settled with the town of DeWitt, and we have been abiding by that agreement ever since. The second was in the late 90s, early 2000s. That decision went all the way to the state Supreme Court, the Court of Appeals, and they decided in our favor. I have a copy of that right here. If the board wishes to see it, it's a matter of public record. I would just ask that that there is a mandate made upon the current owners that they disclose to any prospective buyers where exactly they're buying. They're between an active quarry that dynamites and has an active range, a rifle pistol range that's used by the town of DeWitt Police, and an active gun club, 45 acres sitting right next door. And we are active as well. We've been active for 90 years, as I said. In the past, we have had anecdotal stories about realtors telling people along Woodchuck Hill Road, don't worry about that gun club, they're going out of business. I'm just here to say we are not going out of business. We're very active. We have 165 members. We've been in continuous business for 90 years, and we're not going anywhere. So we would respectfully request that the planning board mandate full disclosure
There will be
of this fact
annotations,
to any prospective
there will
buyers.
be annotations on the drawings requiring that. And I think people will be fully aware of where they're purchasing their property there. But we are aware of that. We are aware of it. So we, the board can't say no, you're there, or it's there, but it is on the order to disclose all.
Okay, that is an important fact because we don't object, we don't own the property, so we don't object to its development. However, we don't want 8 families moving in and then complaining about the fact that there's shooting at night, which we are not responsible for. That happens occasionally. The police department goes up there for qualifications. Their range is located in the quarry proper. And at least 4 days a week, we have active shooting at it.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Can you tell me your name again, sir?
John Riccio,
Thank you.
President of the Wet Fishing Game Club.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else? Is there anybody online?
I'm sorry, which meeting agenda item was this for?
This is the first one for Woodchuck Hills.
Copy that, thank you.
Joe.
Now, is there hours to what you guys operate over there?
Yes, that has been agreed with the town of DeWitt ever since 1993. We operate Tuesdays, Thursday nights after 4 o'clock. And weekends, Saturday and Sunday from 10 to sunset. Throughout the summer months. And we do have the ability to hold other shoots on off days as long as we notify the police. So, special. This is the agreement made with the town about 30 years.
Kevin was first, and second for the public hearing. Okay, all in favor? Thank you very much, time. So regards to what I built. I will build this, is the agenda. That was the final.
So I have a question. Has there been any development on either the covenants or the restriction in regards to stormwater? That was a
Yes, so. Their attorney asked me for some language, so we're gonna work on that. This week, so.
I guess I'd like to chime in a bit. I think there's a few items that need to be considered. Town code includes in the required improvements, sidewalks and lighting, either of which are addressed by this plan. You don't need to require them, but I just want to bring it to the board's attention and determine if either of the items should get into the plan to be provided with part of the project.
So. If we're going to say no, we should discuss why, because.
I would say that. It's 50 yards long, right?
So in terms of lighting, street lights.
Yes.
On there. I think it's probably not a bad idea to light a little bit of the street. That's across it's the street right across from this one. It cuts up.
We're just putting traditional like pole lamps on
Yeah.
there and what's that thing? Well, where I grew up, we have every driveway has a pole lamp, right?
Right.
It's a nice little small thing.
Yeah.
Somebody.
There is no street lighting of any kind on this, on which I know.
Cedar Lane's got it. Right at the top of the hill, just, yeah, just, I don't think right up the street.
Yeah, the nearest street, excuse me, is Marmot Circle and there's no lights along there,
Right, so-
street lights, yeah. I think, all these houses will have lights on the facade of the garage, and perhaps pole lights, but, I don't really see precedent for street lights. Lining the road. Personally.
I'm thinking maybe just close to the intersection,
Right, okay, yeah, where the curb cut is,
yeah, just
Yeah.
something that's,
we will be having a monument sign there, down the road. When indicating the name of the development, things like that, so I think we could probably incorporate some lighting.
That's shown on the plan.
Not yet, we'll have to come back in for something like that.
So I think that if there's going to be a monument there, we would need to, there needs to be an easement for it.
Right.
Okay,
Okay. We can incorporate that into our subdivision map that we submitted.
Well, the town doesn't want to take the initiative.
right. But if the developer is gonna put it in that property, it needs to know it's there, yeah.
It's actually gonna be located in the stormwater easement limits. So I don't know if that constitutes, would that satisfy the request of easement?
No, because I think that's the clarification that we need about your stormwater program.
Okay. So there'd be a kind of an easement within an easement. We can.
Well,
I don't think, yeah, we'll have to,
And these are.
yeah, I think that
You can't.
I don't think you
have
can
easement
build
Go
permanent
go over each other.
in easement.
I mean, there's specific purposes for each.
Right.
easement.
Well, either way, I think we'll satisfy whatever request you have on, providing an easement for that monument sign and some lighting around that to the entrance to the
Well,
development.
right, so if it's not on the plan, it can't happen.
Right,
Because it's not an accessory use to a residential use. But if we want it as part of this approval, then you need to have some kind of parameters on that now.
Can I ask another question? Along the bottom of your drawing there, it doesn't show on that drawing, but our driveway runs right along the bottom of that drawing.
yeah, it's very faint, we have a labeled gravel driveway.
That's correct. Is there any provision? I assume these are gonna be built for families, but is there any provision being made to put up any sort of a barrier fence? I mean, we would hate to see children or anybody else wander into our property, especially on the night when we are having an event.
Right, so currently there's that existing stone wall that runs about from here to there. We're maintaining that and we're also keeping around 20 to 25 feet of existing vegetation.
Right,
So
but
that
that
there.
wall is just a pile of rocks.
Right,
And then there is growth, there is tangled growth along there. There's no barrier, there's no fencing, there's nothing that would prevent anyone from coming into our property at a time when there could be.
we have no fencing on the plan.
And
This-
we're very
The other
careful when we
properties that
cite-
abut, the other properties that abut off Woodchuck Hill, do they have fencing?
Say that again,
So the
please.
other properties,
To the south,
to the south, up
or north of your property, south of
yeah.
there.
Do they have fencing preventing, I mean, those are all single family homes
There's
there.
no fencing anywhere on this property or on our property. There's only a gate
Right,
that precludes passage into our club when we're not open.
So they're asking on the opposite side of this, does the residents have a fence up from your land?
The opposite side of Woodchuck Hill Road?
No, the
No,
other
the
side of
other
the-
side of your
there's the-
property.
Still going east up Woodchuck Hill Road.
No, there's woods going out. Most of it is owned by the club. And it goes out all the way almost to Woodchuck Hill Road and some of the other people, but that's 400 or 500 yards away. Now, we have cited our shooting ranges so that nothing drops on any neighbor's property. We use small bird shot for our events, which only travels about 100 yards. We are very careful when we cited our shooting ranges. We have trap, we have skeets, we have 5-stand sporting clays. None of them allow for shot to fall off of our property. However, this comes right up against the driveway leading into our property. And there's nothing now to prevent small children or anyone else from wandering onto our property. We have had problems in the past with people trespassing, using motorbikes and all sorts of other things, and we've worked very closely with the police to try to prevent that. And I'm just asking, do you have any plans to put up a barrier fence or anything?
We
like
don't.
that? Or does the planning board, will the planning board require that?
So. Part of this is a little bit of a back and forth. I think if fence goes up, those owners have to maintain it. Part of the reason I think that we're talking about here is you're trying to keep people off your property. Right, so is there a reason you wouldn't put a fence up to prevent people coming onto your property?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking about.
Well, on your side of the property,
Our side of the property.
Like you would wanna.
right, so you're trying to protect
To
people.
ensure that no one came onto your property.
Because I'm asking, like, we put the precedent here with these properties. And got the other residential property. Your concern is, it's a valid concern. To have people coming on.
Properties are- Well, this is nestled right up against our entry front. There's nothing there except a small pile of stones.
Right.
2 feet high. Children, anybody who wants to just cross right over that onto our property. Now, there's really no danger of any shot going in that direction. However, it does allow for small children that should be. Anything else to come over onto our property. To our property. So.
I think that in the residential subdivision. Actually, your issue about the about the active gun club has already been thought about. We're gonna add some language about the quarry. Because that wasn't. And I'm going to look at that with the planning board chair about the best language to get in there. And who I'm going to be purchasing at their own risk.
Right, the reason I asked that is because Paulie has this mountain between this
Right.
proposed subdivision where they actively shoot and where they actively already stone. We don't have, right, we just have a tangle of underbrush and very little stone.
Yeah, I mean,
I hesitate.
I think we hear and understand your concern. So we'll figure out the best route. To that.
Yeah, we want to be good neighbors.
Right.
If the subdivision is approved. Well, by the same token, we can't bear the cost of some large fencing that has to run 400 or 500 yards to divide us from this subdivision. That cost should be borne by the developer. For the owners.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate, there is a 20 to 25 foot existing tree line that we're keeping there. So the person would climb over the pile of rocks, then make their way through the brush and then go onto your property trespassing. I mean, you know, it's just kind of difficult to prepare for all the situations, especially since, you know, they could cross and go onto Woodchuck Hill Road, but you're not going to fence that. So I think there's a good chance some of these homeowners may install a fence on their own in the future, but they need it right up at the beginning. It's a big burden expense.
And that's what we'll talk about, we'll figure out those course of action. So we can do what we think, but
I mean, none of us have any idea who's going to be in here. This is approved, but they're still children. And we keep.
There could also be not small children. I mean, I understand your point, but I think we'll look at it, we'll figure out. I mean, I don't think we're gonna, at this moment right now, mandate that we need a fence. Not to say that we wouldn't, but we need to talk about it and figure out what the best one.
I'm just trying to point out some of the issues before you make your decision to approve the subdivision. This talk of a wall, there is no wall. There's literally maybe 1 foot or 1.5 feet of rocks.
We'll visit the site again and take a peek. But I have another question. Is there signage at the perimeter of your gun club? Like, so nobody would just wander on, like?
There has been at times, but the signs get old, they blow down. We have not had any issues with that, but this is so close. This borders right on.
I understand about this. Pretend I'm a neighbor on the other side of your gun club.
Well, you're
If I was
you're a quarter
wandering.
mile away and it's dense woods.
A quarter mile is a 10-minute walk.
That's correct.
Yeah. So. Well, I'm saying, that's good. I was happy where I am.
So the answer to your question is no, there's no
There's no
barrier up there,
signage.
there's no fencing, there's nothing.
There's no posted signs?
I mean, we could put in posted signs if that's required, but we've never had an issue from that direction.
It was just me asking as a neighbor, that's all. So I just wondered if there was signage. Thank you.
Okay. Good.
Got it.
Good. Thank you.
So we're gonna look at those couple of covenants, look at them. I know we talked about what you're gonna say in the plan, we'll revisit those and we'll revisit the stormwater.
Okay, what's the issue?
The front. Carrying it out and it's in someone's lot. It's in the front corner.
We have a proposed stormwater easement.
Yeah, there's stormwater easements all over, the town with stormwater basins in residential subdivision. It's nothing that's.
It'd be a standard agreement, right? Just a stormwater agreement, the one.
I think all we were saying is Jimmy was gonna look at the agreement.
Yep, yes, yeah.
And we made that clear when it comes to.
Yeah, and I'll just.
Yeah, I mean, the easement should be, there's. I mean, there's an easement that should go to the town to ensure that those are.
What are they talking about?
Are not,
I think so.
are not the place that are maintained.
Yeah.
Then there's the stormwater agreement that's required by the Speedies permit.
that needs to be, also executed. So there's two different things there.
Got it?
Got it, yep.
Great.
Thank you.
Now Lake Commons. Sam, I would ask you to do 3 to 5 minutes, just update this one right now.
Everyone's right playing basketball bad.
I think it's over. It's coming up.
So we're done with the, which are cool.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Go for it.
Rob Seeley from EDR. Joanne Galliano from EDR, Vito from Vito Architects. So since, I guess since we were last here, we've had a couple of work sessions. So building 3 is what this application was for, the revised application. Building 3, it's about 5,200 square feet. Retail use and parking was accommodated in the existing lot, and then we needed 30 additional spaces across the street. I think at the last meeting, some of the comments were about adding a crosswalk, which we've done with the appropriate signage. All the stormwater design was done for that as well. At the last work session, we talked about putting that parking in reserve. So since Tuesday, we've updated the drawings to notate that parking lot being put into reserve.
So everything clouded is the reserve.
Yeah, that would be the reserve, and that goes through the set in each drawing. Then I think there were a few comments on the architecture.
Yeah, we
There
had,
were lights.
Yeah.
that you wanna-
yes, sure. You guys asked for additional since last meeting, you asked for additional articulation on the, sorry. You didn't know insurance, that's fine. So we discussed at our last meeting, articulation of the back side of the building, or the reverse street side, so this side here. And adding some light fixtures on that back side as well, and we've done that. And I think that's about, oh, and then back to the beginning, requested views from Erie Boulevard. So, and from Bridge Street, so these are corrected elevations perspectively looking at the site. So you can see very clearly, we won't be looking at a seat of roofing. We may get a little bit on the backside of the parapet, and we may get glimpses of the screening for the mechanical units, but that would be the extent of it.
Those mechanical units are modeled in there.
Yeah, they're modeled exact size, we used the carrier units we're specifying, so they are in their place on the correct curves, so. That is, I think that's where we left it, right? Those were the open items on our list of things to do.
Just as an FYI, right, based on input from the board, the foundation permit was issued, right, for this,
Yes.
for this work.
Yeah, and they were working on site today, so.
Right. Are there any comments?
Was signage part of this package? or
No.
is it separate?
If we showed maximum area based on your local regulations so that the tenants would use that as a guide for starting, but no application for signage. Mostly because there are some franchises that are looking at this property and they would do their own signage package anyways.
Right.
The exterior lighting on the street side. Is there a photometric? Lighting photometric?
We'll submit one prior, I will submit one, we haven't submitted it yet.
those fixtures have been selected.
The emergency lights haven't, but the remainder of the light fixtures have. So I can do the measures.
Yeah, we're gonna have a couple of.
Absolutely understandable and appreciated.
The other thing that we want to discuss is essentially creating need. Area across the way. Able to tie those two pieces together. Right now, they're two separate parcels. In the future, if that one ever gets sold. Tie or deed to that one. This becomes. It's.
If it were to be built or you say
Do it.
now change it. Change it. Adjacent to.
Yes.
You talked about that early on about doing the hub subdivision.
Right, so the other part of the development they're talking about. Should that not be, yes, but we can modify that.
The shared part.
Well, the parking spaces across the street would fall in the overlay zone, so. Present was purchased building adjacent to it, so there's a potential that. If their parking were built in that place, you could actually share it with a residential. Because it's usually at night.
Right.
So that's what we're talking about, that if that were to change later, it may have to adjust that fee. Once that other building is planned and we come back to work through this.
What's the timing on the other part of the television? A
He
month?
doesn't even own it yet, so it's gonna be a while. He hasn't had the closing. He's still back there. Are you there?
It goes in tomorrow, is that right?
Yeah, so we haven't done any planning whatsoever for it at this point.
And so the use of the reserved parking, the lot currently, there's an existing building with an existing occupancy and use in it. What is it?
Just a storage structure. It's just storage.
Just storage.
Yeah. Yeah. Nothing.
But it's a month to month lease.
So that use would continue as is
In the event.
while the reserve is still unbuilt, right, in this scenario.
Correct.
Yeah.
Should we deem that the
It's required.
reserve parking is required, then for the demo drawings that are on here, that building will come down.
Yeah.
We'd have to create that parking. On that side.
Yeah, so
I'm saying like. Make it so there wasn't a way to sell that land or come into that land or want to get rid of that land and then not have the availability of this reserve parking anymore. Like, what if the reserve parking just went away? What if they built a building where?
That's the concern.
Yeah, we'd have to come back for site plan review if we did anything on that side anyway. But yeah, that'd be the way to keep it. Is keep it as a use
Right,
for that
so
site.
it's tied.
I think it's just tying it
Yeah.
together.
Right.
Legally. That's.
Yeah.
So, I think that, an easement, a declaration of easement on the parking lot site in favor of this
Correct.
site. And that way, if somebody came and said, I'm gonna buy this, right away, you got an easement,
Is there,
so,
that'd be the easiest way to do it.
yeah, fairly simple.
Right.
Like, one of that would be. the
Yeah,
simplest way.
depending on what the language is, but it's easy enough to do.
Well, there's a proposed resolution and when you listen to it, you'll hear what the gist of it is and then be able to understand, you know, what the declaration needed to say.
So that declaration needs to be in place before.
I mean, we would just put a condition that we have to get it within a couple of weeks.
Okay. That works.
And the stormwater easement and we have a few things to do.
Right.
Or you went on the deal tonight.
Just these two. Okay. Any other discussion?
My only other comment is, just about, again, about that existing building, if we want to say something, you know, it can't change in use or occupancy or the maintenance and upkeep of the building needs to say, I'm thinking that,
If it were a change in use.
it would have to come back.
Because it would have to come back. But, you know, whatever warehouse to warehouse or whatever it is.
If this tenant moves out and some other storage.
I mean, we don't have
Construction
time.
company uses it for storage
It
for.
could be 5, 10, 20 years or who knows.
Right. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and read. It's long, full page. This is an approval of the site plan dated January 11, 2024, which is a modification to the site plan approval and subdivision approvals dated 4/27/23 and as revised 6/8/23. This plan provides for improvements relating to a third building on the site and all attendant improvements, parking as well as reserved parking on the lot shown in the plan on the east side of Sealy Drive. The approval is made with the following findings and conditions. Onondaga County Planning Board has determined that as a modified site plan, additional Onondaga County Planning Board review is not required. The SEGRA findings of the approval of 4/27 are adopted herein as adequately addressing the matters before it. The condition or the code requires a parking count of 184 parking spaces to accommodate all of the uses on the site, including the proposed Chick-fil-A, ski company building, and the new building here in Concord. With the additional parking the additional parking now shown on the site in this application, the parking count totals with parking on the lot on the east side of Sealy Drive totaled 184 spaces. This board is permitted to place up to 25% of the parking in reserve. The applicant has shown a plan for parking on the lot on the east side of Sealy Drive of 30 spaces. That will bring the parking count on the main parcel down to 154 spaces. The parking at 30 spaces is under the 25% permitted to be reserved and as approved herein shall be considered parking in reserve and does not need to be built until a need is shown for the same as determined by the Department of Planning and Zoning upon observation or complaint. It is understood that the applicant may desire to make improvements with site plan approval. The site upon which the reserved parking is situate to serve improvements to other surrounding parcels and not this lot. Should that occur, it will require site plan approval, and should the reserved parking be permitted to be developed in another manner and not for reserved parking, this board would have to 1, approve other reserved parking, 2, not permit the development of the reserved parking lot for another use, or 3, refer the matter to ZBA for variance of parking required for this site. As a condition to this approval, the applicant and tenant of the previously approved ski company, formerly Pier 1 building, must finalize their plans for the signage to bring same into compliance with the code. This was discussed at our work session on Tuesday. In addition to any conditions herein, all conditions and findings of the site plan approvals dated 4/27/23 and 6/8/23 remain in full force and effect and unmodified. This board reiterates the condition relating to the fact that the traffic light must be installed before a certificate of occupancy is issued on the Chick-fil-A building and considers it an important condition of this and all prior approvals. Additionally, no signage is approved as part of this plan. Applicant must return to the planning and zoning for approval. And photometrics are to be submitted on the third building. Additionally, we'll also require the declaration of easement. Needed 3 weeks.
That should be fine.
Declaration of easement to be provided in connection with restriction on the Sealy east side of Sealy Drive lot.
Additional. Sorry.
Have a motion. Have Doug seconds, in favor. Great, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Saw. Thanks, Rob. Do we have any for Saw here?
Yes, I'm here remotely and I believe we have a gentleman from actual Saab there as well.
Okay. I think the only thing that we need, the date. Firearms.
Yeah, I believe I heard you correctly. I do have the updated drawings here to review briefly. Let's see, let me share screen here. I'll have to be enabled to be sharing screen.
Should be
I'm
able to.
sorry. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, they did. So. They do some.
So the last,
Yes.
sorry, what?
Why don't, Tyler, can you just go ahead and give like a 2-minute?
Yep.
Update?
So, in the last meeting, we discussed the 8 chargers locations here at the Saab building. And originally what we were trying to do was have all 8 of them be over here and extend out into this area that's striped off next to a stop bar. That was rejected. So what we needed to do was shift the chargers down into the existing parking spaces to be able to seek approval. So we kept 6 over here that will not interrupt the current parking scheme, nor will it impede into this striped off area that's up to the stop bar. And the 2 remaining of the 8, we moved over to the other side of where their service entrance is, over past their generator and all that. So we're only using existing parking spaces now. Otherwise, the plan is the same.
But no changes to the striping parking stalls, that's as it is, okay.
No, sir. If I recall correctly, that was our only issue last time was the rearranging of the parking area, and not even really so much rearranging of, but encroaching into that striped off area to create new parking spaces. So we resolved that and are only using the existing approved parking spaces now.
In the middle.
You're in the middle in there, so that's why they've got 6 on one side and 2 on the other.
Yeah, so it's not shown here, but somewhere about here, there's an island that sticks out that they have all of their service equipment for their primary electrical service comes in. There's a utility transformer, and then there's a standby generator. You don't see all that here, but that's all right here in the map. I can probably show you what that looks like, although this isn't the most accurate.
I think we're good. I think we need to see it. No, all conduit still remains inside the building, right?
Yes, sir. Well, except for the ones out here that'll be buried. There will be no exterior mounted conduit.
Yeah, they're all buried conduit. There is.
Yes, sir.
It was just pointed out, there is still 1 panel on the exterior of the building.
Yes, sir. That's it'll be an outdoor rated NEMA 3R panel. It isn't necessary for to meet electrical code requirements, but it may be in the future if they upgrade these chargers to meet the EV charger codes and the NEC codes. So we usually do put the EV panels outside. So when they upgrade the output in the future, they'll still be code compliant.
How big is that panel?
That is a 200 amp panel, so it's probably around 16 inches wide, maybe 30 inches tall, and 5 inches deep. It's pretty small, regular size panel like you'd have in a house or something.
Can you show it in an elevation?
I don't think there are any elevations to this. It's also down, we're not really seeing.
I remember it was in building or in the lot.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Starting route to 5717 Enterprise Parkway.
Any other questions?
And the chargers themselves, it's the same product presented prior.
Yes, sir. EverCharge is the name of the product. They're 11.5 kW chargers that have built-in circuit breakers in them just for an extra layer of protection. All the pedestal stuff will be the same. I can scroll down and show you what they look like. These are a pretty simple version of this. This sits
There's
on
no syringe or anything on them.
say again, sir.
No, it did.
You're good.
You're good.
Okay.
Tyler, could you scroll up and this is the drawing that the department saw. So if we could get the date on that, we could minimize the photo in the corner there.
Tyler, what is the date listed on that drawing?
This drawing, I believe, was posted in our record in January. Although the date on the drawing, I believe, is wrong. It's been revised since then, so it should be corrected. It says 8/14/23, but this revision took place, excuse me, not January, December 14th.
But it's a match.
It needs
Yeah.
to match what's on the
Right,
drawing,
so
so
right there.
are you gonna submit us an updated drawing? Or are we using?
Yeah.
the date?
That's up to you. If you would like for me to submit some additional drawings with the correct date on them, the non-August date, I'd be happy to do that.
Saved and received. Yes,
Yeah.
with that date on it of 8/14. Right, so you could just, that would be the last date, so we can just use that one.
It's a 12/14.
It's a 12/14. 12/14.
I think that's, I think 8/14 is on the drawing.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
8/14.
we use, is he sending?
It just looks like the engineer forgot to update the date on the document when they were
So,
revising it.
Question
So
is, you said 8/14/23.
that's the date on the drawing itself. This version, I know was revised on 12/14.
We're just gonna check something here, give us a second.
Okay.
We always want to know.
Can you stop sharing if you have?
Sure.
Well, open the. Yeah. Date modified. Well, it's not gonna be, it's gonna be 11/11, so it's gonna be the same for the additional is. Gonna be 8/14. Right, so that's my question is, if it's. But to Jenny's point, either he gives us a new set of drawings with the things that he said they were modified. And that's what I'm at, like, if nothing's gonna change and you have it received with the 8/14 date on it, there it is.
Yeah,
Right, so if you have it received with the 8/14, that's the one I'm gonna be signing. And we can
That's
leave it 8/14, and we'll just
yeah.
build it here on the approval is 8/14, we don't need anything new.
Did they send them to you in an email or something? Like
We only take them in, punch drives.
jump drives?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they should have been printed. I know, I do have some record that they had sent some over in print.
Vision rate. No,
No, I think they're called revised, so I think that it's fine.
right, so 8/14 is the date that we're gonna use.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions, comments, discussion? No. All right, I'm gonna make a motion, to approve the plan for EV charging stations last dated 8/14/23. The following findings and conditions, planning board has reviewed the Onondaga Planning Board referral of December 13th, 2023. Found no significant intercommunity or countywide impact. Board has reviewed the EAF, the applicant finds no significant adverse environmental impacts for this project. This approval is made with further conditions that this approval is for plans and other
submitted documents, site plan documents that have been signed by the planning board chairperson and the applicant. And requires that all of the work shown be completed by the applicant in order for a certificate of occupancy or compliance to be issued. Any proposed changes, additions, or deletions to the scope of work or materials in the site plan documents are not approved and are subject to further review pursuant to the town of DeWitt Code section 192-2022. Move. Joe and Jenny, all in favor? Great. Thank you. What's flex building?
We're actually.
Oh, great. You're okay?
Yeah. Maybe just, my ear's not okay.
I was gonna say, the ear's probably not okay. Okay, Northwood Flex building.
Architect just gotta hold. Albert Builder, 6475 Collier Road, Syracuse. The reason for our meeting today is to for the planning board to review the latest concept that we are presenting based on former discussions about the use of the former winery building. I have my attorney Mike Serafine here today and my architect Mike Wolniak. I don't know, you guys know the history, you don't need any more history. So what I'm requesting tonight is to that the reason why we're here is because of Ms. Sutton had a conversation with Mr. Serafine and discussed the fact that it's two separate buildings on the site were not workable for residential use. So we have.
Did you re-plug in the USB drive? It said it couldn't read it. Sorry, because I see what you're. There you go. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so what we tried to do is, if you know, initially we had two separate uses on the same site. We tried to sort of have that. Now we no longer have two uses on that site. We're trying to have now one use residential on the whole site. We have 2 units right there right now. We're looking for one more. There was a discussion about the ZBA in terms of going to the ZBA based on leaving the 2 buildings the way they were. We can't go to the ZBA unless the town plan, this is my understanding, unless the town planning board rejects our proposal for the 2 separate buildings. And then we can go to the ZBA and see what they have to say. In light of that, we're trying to present today is a connection based on the conversation between Ms. Sutton and my attorney, Mr. Serafine, that we connect the buildings. And Mr. Wolniak has done extensive research in terms of the codes that are permitted, and he's going to present that today.
Great.
Scroll through this. This is there. This. Okay. The existing site is approximately 5 acres of property. It's subdivided or it is divided into two sections. One, where the current buildings are located is being a business transitional zone, and with the remainder of the property, industrial zone. Each one is roughly, the business transitional zone is 2.3 acres and the industrial zone 2.7 acres. The existing buildings that exist on the site, this was originally a restaurant building. Second one was the wine producing building. After the winery stopped production and stopped operations, the restaurant building was converted into 2 apartments. And then we're suggesting the possibility of this becoming a singular apartment building. And given, okay, that's how it works. We were creating with the floor plan of the existing building, a 3-bedroom apartment unit with a connection to the existing restaurant building to try and combine the buildings to make them essentially one singular structure. That being total of about 7,000 square feet, or close to about 6,700 square feet, including the connector piece that would act as a storage unit between the existing, original restaurant building and the wine producing building. So this is the connector piece that we attempted to utilize in order to define the 2 buildings as a singular building. The connector piece, this being the existing restaurant building, this the wine producing building, and this now the connector piece that would essentially connect the 2 buildings together. Electrical. Sections of how the whole thing was constructed.
Go back to the. I just want to kind of wrap my head around the connection itself. I think the intent of connecting the 2 buildings to make them a single multi-family building. And that is what you're attempting to do, correct?
To define the buildings as a
Singular
building, as opposed to 2 separate buildings with a similar use.
Correct.
Is that a nuance for the purposes of zoning, or is that also going to be true for the building code?
What do you mean?
Separate buildings, combining them together into one building. Is this a zoning exercise?
I'm gonna tell you that I don't know anything about the building code out, but a multi-family dwelling, which is more than 3 or more units, is permitted in the business transitional zone.
Yeah,
I'll let you guys figure out what's going on from a building code standpoint.
Code standpoint.
I was gonna say, I think this is a zoning issue. Anything we do with the building needs to comply with the code.
Correct.
You'll be able to do the code office.
It comes up all the time, but there's always building code implications that affect what we're doing and we're reviewing too. I bring it up now.
Once they
Yes.
connect those, they have to.
Well, Mike, you want to address that?
The business transitional district does not only support or accept as a given the multifamily, but it also accepts 2-family, or is
A 2-family.
a 2-family.
Right, so you have a 2-family in the building in the front, plus another building. Right, so you have more than a 2-family.
But
We have 3-family, yes, you're right.
With 3 family.
But now you want to address the building code portion, because that's the way we designed it based on the building code.
Okay, I mean, I think to the earlier point made, the building code will need to be complied with. We're talking about the zoning issues right now.
Well, that's what Ms. Sutton was mentioning is that, yeah, she said a 3-family would be allowed, and that's what we're proposing.
Yes,
So just so the board knows, in order to continue to expedite this project in the spirit of cooperation, these drawings were submitted this afternoon, so no.
right.
Okay.
Yeah, so what kind of, and that's, in looking at this afternoon when I saw it, I've got kind of questions about the design, the intent. I understand the zoning side of it, we're trying to create a multifamily, which is 3 or more units within the envelope of the building, right? So we're defining that
That's
envelope
correct,
around the
yes.
building, right? So that would help to comply with the zoning issue that's there.
Yes.
Building issue aside, building code aside, you're gonna have to comply with all the building code requirements. that are
Yes.
there, Right? So let's look at the 3-unit layout that's there, and by doing that, really, the thing that we're talking about is that little connector in the two. That piece is what's making this comply.
Yes,
That's correct, so let's focus on that, because I don't think we had any issue with previous designs that you had.
well,
in there.
we did add the 3-car garage.
We'll get to
Yeah.
that. I want to talk about this little piece.
The
first.
connector,
So that little connector piece in between,
this piece right here,
that little piece right there,
Yeah.
2 storage units, that's what's connecting this building envelope. So if we drew a building envelope line, we're drawing it all the way around the building.
Yes,
around both buildings,
Both buildings, correct?
correct?
So with that, talk to me a little bit about how you came up with that, because what I'm seeing right now, it's set back a little bit, so we got a little bit of a corner there. My question is on the
In
roof
terms of-
lines,
In terms of massing.
massing and that type of stuff.
And you're trying to introduce a new structure, as it applies to existing structure. So the materials, by flushing it out, it's more difficult to change out materials. It's easier to set it back slightly. And it also aligns with some of the interior structure of the building for connections and electrical connections from the building. So
Go to the elevation. So I understand that, I might wanna just. I guess you're only proceeding really from the parking lot side, so the gap doesn't necessarily.
this is from the opposite side.
Right, but the general, unless you're one of those tenants.
It's a neck essentially that's connecting two larger masses.
The roof laying directly to the right of the storage. I could see all of to the right, that's right there. All of the other roof lines and stuff that you have around there seem to be. That you're working with, right, except for that one. The one in the upper left, which has a steeper. Pitch to them. Right, so the roof line directly to the right of the storage units. What's the pitch on that right there?
I believe it is, it would be a 412. This here.
Right.
412.
That's the same for all.
This is a lower roof and it's a narrow building, so the geometry is such. 3 feet. 4 and 12, you're looking at roughly 4 times 3 is 12 inches. That would be the height of that roof.
I'd kind of like to see that gable,
That's where I was.
just come across and come.
That's where it was
inside.
going with this.
That's what it wants to do.
And it strengthens the argument that this is
Yeah.
one building versus. You connected, I mean. By taking that roof line and running it straight across, connecting it to the other building. Now. Really made this. Building.
With the size of the building. This mass is wider and generates a higher peak. With a narrower width at the same pitch, if you're trying to create an extension of that roof. It doesn't work.
So yes, but this goes back to, and I believe me, I understand all of it. This goes back to the question before, that you just have a little tiny storage unit that's in there, is where. You went back to those, taking those walls, connecting those walls straight over with the same roof line. Between the two.
it's much bigger, much
It-
wider.
You're suggesting the mass of this roof as a continuation all the way across, over the top of a mass that's much narrower in width.
Widen that mass.
Now you start getting into the building codes, because we start getting into sprinklers into the building as you increase over 7,000 square feet. So I'm trying to keep the mass of the building down below the 7,000 to minimize the potential they have to sprinkle the building.
Okay,
Okay,
and what was your difference in terms, you're talking
300 square.
300 square feet? Is that 300 square feet?
Is what, this,
Was the distance between the buildings?
the distance between the buildings about 13'2" or.
Yeah, 13'2".
I think what we understand the concept, I think. In terms of connecting these two buildings, making them a 3-unit building, I think this solves it. I think there are some aesthetic things that we're gonna try and work through.
The problem when we get into that is we got underground, first of all, these buildings are all connected with the same utilities.
Correct.
I mean, the electrical is underground, the water, everything. So as soon as the reason why it was designed to this size is because we can avoid digging up all that. And that would be a huge.
So go back to the plan and show me where those utilities are that you're digging up.
The utilities run through here.
Could you go back to the other plan that shows the two buildings, just so?
Well, so, yeah, so you got the.
Electrical room is right here.
Mhm.
This is the electrical room. And then this is the water line goes right there.
Truth is, I don't think that the storage unit has to get bigger. I think what we're talking about is the roof. You could frame it out. Yeah, you could frame it out with some posts or an open space, but the roof line is really doing all the work to tie it together.
You'd have to,
It's that, yes,
you'd
that
have to
volume right there.
make that volume
Correct. Correct.
go all the way across in order for that roof to appear the same.
Correct.
As opposed,
That's.
otherwise you end up with this enormous roof over the top of this smaller piece with a huge overhang on the other side. Or on one side or the other, or on both sides, depending on where that's positioned relative.
Well,
to
if you
the
just took that
mass.
volume and extended that volume straight up, I think what Doug is suggesting is that you don't need to change the storage rooms, flush out the front. Don't need to change the storage rooms, you get a covered porch on the back. And now you've created that roof line that ties directly over from the other building.
Are you saying that we wouldn't have to do, I mean, you know, I really don't want to do the storage rooms. I'm only doing it because.
No, you need the storage rooms, we need to be able to connect that line. But what we're saying is, right now, with the storage rooms being so narrow, that little roof, that little tiny little ridge that runs between the building to the south and building to the north, you know, doesn't really work. What we're suggesting is that just that roof line gets wider, you don't need to change the storage rooms. The roof line gets wider, so that ridge line matches up with the existing volume that's on the south, connects it to the north.
I mean, the view of that is the parking lot. I mean, it's not even, you can't even see it from the street. If you look at those two buildings from the street, it almost looks like one right now anyway.
Understood.
The view is very, very limited for, you know, for what it would cost to do that.
Understood. I think what we're trying to do is strengthen the argument right now, that this is one building and that this is truly connected in here.
I think that from a code standpoint, Mike, didn't you look into that? And from a code standpoint, it did show that it was, you know, that's why we did it to that size. From a building code standpoint.
Yeah, so. Right, I hear you. I think I mean,
If I start digging up that.
I'm not asking you to dig anything else up. So, I mean, I can't get up here and draw it for you, but I think you understand what I'm saying, right?
Exactly what you're saying. What I'm
So-
suggesting is that in order to,
Right, you could just have, you know, two posts or something on the east side of that corner. With a header that runs from that corner over to the other building, put a trussed roof up there. Connect the two buildings with a roof that's bigger, you don't
Could
need to
you show
change
us
the.
a section of where it attaches to both buildings? I think that would answer all of our questions. Like, then we would be able to say, like, a section through the new piece and looking at the elevation of the buildings that they're connecting.
Yeah,
this is a section here, right?
No, that's a wall section, like a section of the building.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. I don't have it. This is the only section I
Right.
have of that component.
And I think if we had a section of the new building looking at the buildings on both ends,
You want me to cut through?
yeah, we would have our answers. Because we would be able to see the
Right.
lines that we're trying
You're trying,
to,
you want me to cut here and look this way?
and then cut the other way and look that way, so we can see how the roof lines are talking to each other and communicating.
They're actually tucking underneath
Right.
the overhangs for this building and the overhang for this,
You look
this
at the
structure.
connector in there, I think the head. The E line for that roof is like right in the head of the door. Right?
Can you show the elevation? Yeah.
So you have the E line is like right at the head. of the door. We're talking like 6, 8, 6, 10.
No, it's about, the top of plate is about 8, 2 3/4. Those doors are 7/0. We got about a foot up there. That's an overhang. You've got an overhang on this roof.
Okay. Just a.
See, now I'm confused about. Is there a dormer on the addition? Is that a dormer?
Here, where?
No. All the way where your mouse just was.
Where is it? Yeah, that right there.
Oh, there it is. I see it. It's so small.
What if we put like a gable in the middle there, go like this? Just to like make it look like another.
Cause I mean, you're probably, I mean, getting into a design discussion here, which I don't know if we necessarily need to get into this, but I think what we're asking is that you make this appear more as though the two buildings are truly connected and that you haven't just taken a breezeway and slapped a little roof on top of it.
Well, that's essentially what we've created here, yes.
Right.
I'm trying to, again, too, I need to minimize my addition of square footage in order for
Again,
code issues that
Yeah.
don't pertain to this zoning.
it's outdoor space out there. I mean, it's not within the building envelope.
That's if I don't increase the footprint of the,
Right, so I don't think we're suggesting that you increase the size of the.
you just want a
storage.
bigger roof is what you want.
Leave the storage room the same size.
Right.
And extend
And
this,
extend that roof line, that volume roof, match the trusses all the
Well,
way
the
across.
question is,
the back of the other
will it hit that building at the right point?
The wine-making building
It's-
is taller.
the eve line of this building, I think, is a little lower than the.
I mean, what if it was just a bigger one, if it didn't, you know, it's just a bigger one that we're showing instead of. I don't know how it would look connecting.
So, yeah, I mean, I think. Yeah, so that's where I was going. I think you've heard our. Points that we wanna make on this one. I wanna talk about the garage as well, that's on here. But understanding our intent. and What we're trying to do to really strengthen that this is.
We want a stronger statement.
Absolutely.
Tie it into
And
the,
by just carrying that volume across, I think that makes that statement. That the building is all. That we truly get to that 3-unit, that multi-family, which. This traditional. Works. Right. We don't need to increase the square footage in there, I think we're talking about the roof lines and the trusses there, I'm just carrying. You talk a little bit about the garage, the garage just showed up.
Yes. In order to, you know, there's no justification already right now for the cost of this project. But for the people that are intending on leasing the 2,300 square foot space, they want a garage. And we thought the most logical place to do it would be where the former parking was for that particular building. The parking for that building was like was
That spot without the parking lot, just the building, or?
this was the parking lot right here for this building.
Right.
So we put the garage.
Like in the bottom right corner, you see the blood,
On the white screen.
way over on the side.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So that can. Then you're gonna have to use the scroll bars.
To move over.
So, I mean, the garage right now is an accessory use. It's allowable, so I don't think that's necessarily an issue, or you want to just look at the.
This was the
inside
building that we were discussing. That was the net connector that was attaching to the existing two dwelling unit building. And this was the location of the new three-car garage.
Partially on industrial, right?
Can be shifted back.
Does that mean that the parking lot behind it
Yeah.
goes away?
The parking lot behind it.
You mean the basketball court?
So, yeah, I mean,
I can't
to
tell.
Jamie's point, that will need to be shifted
Back.
east to be all on the transitional. Size and aesthetic, can you just go to the elevations real quick? We do have a long agenda, so I want to kind of move along a little bit, but scale, you know, these are typical residential garage doors. We're not talking industrial 10-foot tall,
Oh, no.
right?
Mike's got it, Mike, you have that right, there it is there. Everything ties together with the same look of the buildings.
The board and
That would
batten.
be Lord and Batten, the colors are all the same.
Then my comment on this one is the hip roof on there. You know, I don't think you have a hip roof condition.
That's. My
They actually, there's a hip roof on like a portico of the old winery.
There are down here.
There are.
I think it almost looks like you're trying to carry that line across, right?
Also, because of its close proximity to the wine producing building, I was trying to minimize the amount of mass that would intersect that.
Right, so you're cutting away
I'm
that.
trying to cut it and also reduce the amount of drainage that's gonna end up potentially in that part of that area.
Is that a stone patio right now and a large tree?
Right now, there is, I think, grass right there, or you
There's where the former dumpster location is.
Oh,
where the garage is? Yeah, we're taking out the dumpster.
Right.
And because you've reduced the numbers of people and potential for trash, they will be putting their bins in the garages, each of the tenants.
Okay. So we won't have any trash cans out around the site.
No.
Well, I appreciate the updates. This one, are there any other questions, comments? For this one, so take our comments into consideration. You can get those updated. You know, if you want to come to the next work session, coordinate with Doug, get on, we can have kind of a updated discussion offline with this. But I appreciate you taking the comments into consideration.
Then when is the next work session?
It would be the 23rd. Well, this is track A, so. Yeah, I mean, you could still be on the work session, but the next meeting that you guys would be on the slate for it, the dates, yeah, to get approved would be the 8th of February. So any work session, we'd have 2 work sessions before that. We'd have the 23rd and the 6th.
So we do on the 23rd.
It would be, 23rd would be good, because then we can have the conversation, you can make any updates, and then, you know, make a submission deadline to be on the 8th. For you guys, would be 25th, right? Is that 25th by 3 o'clock?
Yes, yes.
Well,
Right, so,
basically you could do that, but we could have the updated roof by the 23rd.
yeah, you do that, come in for a work session, let's take a look at it, let's all get comfortable with where we are, the updates that you made. That would mean you'd have from the 23rd to the 25th to get your submission in order to be on the 8th agenda.
Okay. So basically, from the concept purpose of this discussion, you are accepting of.
We're on board.
Okay. Very good, thank you.
So we just, technical thing, we get something on the record that the separate building apartment is disapproved by the board.
Well, the interpretation
Was sent out today.
was sent today. Mike, did you get it?
Yes,
So that's the determination on that.
okay, thank you.
And we appreciate the fact that a letter was sent to us to extend this. That was important.
Thank you.
All right, Pharmacam. And this really is an easy one, you know. This is just a recommendation. Are there any significant updates?
Bring your drawings. please.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put maybe one. I think there were some.
I think they have their USB still in there, so you just have to pick it out.
I don't see what, if it's that black
box.
I don't think so. I think there were some architectural things.
Okay. Yeah, if you could just do, you know, 3 to 5 minutes, introduce yourself, do a 3 to 5 minute update, then we're just gonna offer a recommendation, so.
Great, so I'm Corey Auerbach from the law firm Barkley Damon, joined by Brandon Nemec from Verilife Pharmacam. I'm in, one deer down, but made it here, so all good. Brandon made it in from Chicago, so his flight was here, and happy to provide a quick update for you also. As you know, this is the proposed adult use cannabis dispensary that we are proposing at 5841 Bridge Street. Current veterinary hospital there with some empty space. Former AT&T space is going to be taken over, approximately 9,500 square feet of the building, which is outlined in green. These are the architectural elevations. The building's not really changing. We're going to be placing our signage in the place of where the old signage was. I drove by the building. It's basically exactly the same as you see here. So as far as the exterior is concerned, no modifications proposed. There'll be a interior fit out of the building. These are just the surveys. There's nothing substantially similar from when we presented the last time. These are existing trees that buffer Bridge Street. There's 128 parking spaces here. Dual points of access, both at traffic lights on Bridge Street. Far and away, it's a great site. It's about 2.75 acres, I think. Certainly sufficient for the parking, the volume. And this is a relocation of another dispensary in the county, really just because this site was terrific and suitable for their purposes. We do have a PowerPoint presentation which walks through all of Verilife's programming, which we're happy to take you through or not. Brandon's here to talk about all those specific details. We figured more is better than less. So if you'd like, I'm happy to take you through it. Otherwise, answer any questions that you have.
I think we need the presentation on that, because all we're gonna be doing tonight is making a recommendation to CBA for change.
From a specific use permit.
Yes.
Appreciate that.
Let's get the action.
Great.
It'll be back to us again for final.
Sure.
So maybe that to that.
Terrific.
Have you already done that?
We talked through some of it last time.
Interesting. With the flurry that we've had, I think we're experts on dispensaries.
That's the best one.
Give your names, yeah.
Sure, I'm Corey Auerbach, AUERBACH for Barkley Damon.
And Brandon Nemec, BRANDON, last name Nemec, NEMC from Canada, New York.
So consideration for the future, there are a lot of big windows on there, I think 18 minutes. That will need to be part of the meeting review. Okay. So how you treat those windows.
Even the stuff at the interior of the up against the signage at the interior of the.
Yeah.
This area.
Well,
Inter main entrance.
mostly around the main entrance and stuff, we see people, in those windows.
The film.
The film
Yes,
and,
yes, or something.
I mean, there's no branding. Run into issues with properties. That's shown up, so if there is any treatment for those windows, we need to make sure that that is reviewed as part of this submission, or as part of this approval. Doesn't need to be as part of the CBA, as signage, that's signage. Sure, that's all. Any questions?
So on the last one that we did, we had a couple of things. That recommending on the specific use permit, that the board recommends that the specific use permit criterion be reviewed with appropriate scrutiny at the ZBA level. That it's noted that this is an allowable location under the cannabis law, and that the applicant return to the board for final site plan approval.
Yep.
Council, if I may interject, I believe as part of our submission and part of our application here at the local level to the town of DeWitt, we did include communication between the State Office of Cannabis Management and our licensing attorney, indicating that the address was proper, that the state had done their own review as well to make sure that it was compliant with the cannabis law. I have a copy of that here.
No, we saw that.
Okay, good.
It's also required that we do that.
Okay, yeah, understood.
As well.
Understood.
It's part of our approach.
Okay. I will make the motion
Those three.
with those three conditions that we recommend in ZBA. Changing specific use permit for cannabis dispensary.
And as far as coming back, hopefully we're successful at the zoning board of appeals, and then could we come back at the next planning board meeting after? the
Yeah,
ZBA?
you are on track A as well, so the same would apply. You need to have your materials in by the.
I believe they have their materials though, right? So,
Well, there have been updates.
oh,
Nothing's changed from from our initial submittal.
so
This was all in our original submittal.
Jamie, are you aware the medical pharmaceutical component of this use, is that still within the bounds of our ordinance?
I believe that it's not,
It doesn't
Differentiate.
it's not differentiated at all. Yeah.
I think it's only between the dispensary and on-site use. For differentiation.
Right.
So this.
Because as I recall, this was intended to have a medical component.
Correct.
Site.
That's correct. That's correct. Yeah, we're one of the unique dispensaries in the state of New York here that has an existing medical license that we're attaching the permission to also sell to adult use 21 and over. So that medical license is going to carry from our current Liverpool dispensary over to here to DeWitt if we are approved by the zoning board and yourselves. And with that, the state will then grant us the authority to sell to 21 and over as well. So those licenses become co-located.
Special that Liverpool required you have?
I'm sorry?
Is there anything special that Liverpool required you to have?
Generally, as long as we were complete, because the state regulates the operations and the site specifications and parameters so strictly.
There was no variance required? Or
Generally, no, as long as we were, properly cited within a retail use. We were able to start our medical operations, and they deferred to the state to make sure that we were obviously compliant with state law and maintain our state licensure.
All right, I made the motion. Second. Everyone second, all in favor? Good, thank you.
I just wanted to clarify, if we can, the ZBA meeting is.
It's the 20.
So.
The 27th of this month?
Think so.
Okay, so.
27th is a Saturday.
Or no, next one.
If you want to be here.
Next
So you won't make our next one, you'll be
Isn't it
after our
the
next
third?
one.
Yeah,
Monday?
I think the next CBA was February.
Yeah, February.
In talking to,
Okay.
talking to Matt.
So they're after.
All right.
Right, so you would be on for the 8th. Well, it depends. We'll get you on for the first one after the next ZBA. How's that?
And what additional sort of review, or other than to the extent they want to do anything with the glazing, which I don't think they do.
Then,
It's just a matter of, we got to get that.
right, so
before we can
the
get signed
assumption
from
that
you guys.
we'll make in terms of the glazing, if there's nothing shown on here, is that there is no glazing, that it is clear glass. All the way through, signage and stuff inside.
That there's no wrap, there's no
Okay.
vinyl, there's no cling, there's no paint.
Okay.
That's what we would assume, because you're not
Understood.
showing anything, so it shows as a clear facade right now.
Understood. And what we would, so I would just need to make sure that we clarify with state regulations, as I mentioned, that there isn't any part of the glass windows that they would want to be opaque. So I'll double check that with our compliance folks, and we can update that at the.
That's
at the
what
time.
we're
Okay.
asking, is if there is,
Yeah. Okay.
if you are modifying that glass at all, if it is, you know, I mean, obviously any of the filming carries.
Loud and clear. Okay, understood.
Is there an opportunity to be approved conditionally on the special use, so we don't have to come back, or that's just?
No, it's literally not,
Okay,
it's jurisdictional, yeah.
understood.
Yeah.
Great.
Great,
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
We're trying.
Are you guys just doing high school class? There, you want to sign off?
We want to stay.
You're more than welcome to stay, we're, you know. But I'm happy to get you out of here, you sat through enough torture. No, I won't.
Take longer, we'll catch the buck here. Where are you going? The water. Oh, it'll fall.
All right, Verizon data.
What class is that? If they were chapel. They were bad at that. If you didn't want to stay for the
All right, so. Alright, let's get back into this. Verizon data, introduce yourselves, and then I think we're looking to see what's going on in that site.
Good evening. My name is Stephen Carter, and I'm the construction implementation engineer for the property at 132 Creek Circle. And I'm accompanied with John, the architect, representative of the architect. And we also have the principal engineer and the manager from my group. What we have is this new network addition. Supports mission critical services and equipment. And construction is complete on the new addition, except for the entry gate covering and the screening fence that runs across here. And also, thank you. And also the landscaping in front of the fence. What we're looking for is the approval for the renderings. Drawings that are submitted to the town.
It is. So do you have that?
Rendering?
Yeah. Because last I saw the drawing. Something else was. It was a drawing with a couple of notes that just said plantings here.
Yeah, we updated the plantings to show deciduous trees for the town's request.
What is, I guess I'm trying to understand, what is the difference? What's changed from the original site plan?
So originally. Was a screen wall inside the property line, the fence line, that's there. It was gonna be like a bluebird screen that hide the equipment. Once you get inside. So the changes.
Bunch of scatter equipment, right? Is it kind of around?
Dollars that we had in front there. Screen.
So the screen wall would have gone closer to the building, but as John was saying, we had some louvered aspects to that. And also, when National Grid came on site, they had some requirements for removable screen in front of their transformers. And it made it quite difficult to accommodate everybody. So
A few years ago when we met, that was the original tent back right at the building line, so you couldn't see it.
Right.
And so as a result of a bunch of things that took place during construction, a new solution came up where doing screening at that gate line, and then doing some fencing on either side, along with the new tree plantings. One, construction wise, it became easier, that we would like to do this, and it actually does a pretty good job from what I can tell, a better job than what we had proposed originally.
And the fact of the matter is, there's a security fence that runs across the front of the property anyways, and that would have been exposed with a screen wall behind it. So we had the idea that it would probably be more aesthetically pleasing to pull the screen in front of that fence. And as you can see here, it shows the horizontal slats of the fence, the gate with the covering over it.
What is that covering?
It's a, Jeff, are you on?
Those are inserts,
Vertical slats.
vertical flat inserts
Yep.
in the wire, mesh.
Or in a
Chain link.
fence.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
why would you do that when you have a beautiful fence on the other side? I mean,
Because-
besides the fact that this board doesn't typically approve those types of.
Yeah, there's no fence behind that portion there. That's a rolling gate, so that's gonna pull back.
Okay,
And there's no horizontal option for the screen itself.
And so if we didn't put something in there, we would then see all the equipment that we wanted to screen from the circle. The entry to the site.
So we don't think the current fencing is good enough screening? If that was, if the gate material is made out of that fencing material, that would be good.
You would see all of the equipment, that when we
well, I
proposed.
mean, you can see the bollards and stuff behind it.
Well,
but
black screen.
They're not.
But
the black screens, those plastics.
yeah, you really see anything behind the fence right now that you care?
Well, we would have seen this, which I like. I think our original approval is very nice.
It doesn't work.
But you would have also seen the chain link fence in front of it.
And a gate as well.
Yes.
So I think what Nate is saying is that if we were traveling down the road and we looked over and saw that fence and it was consistent, I don't think that we would focus on what was behind it.
Correct.
But we do focus on that black rectangle with the slats.
Are there other options that you've considered?
Color or orientation?
Well, I mean, for.
Material.
Yeah, for the chain link fence, the board typically does not approve chain link fence with the plastic inserts in there. That's just not something that we look to approve, so. Other options that exist, I don't know what you've looked at or what works for.
Jeff, between investigation of available material and what was in the area, are there any other options for the gate covering?
For the gate in general.
We were limited to weight that we could add to that cantilevered rolling gate. So adding additional weight to that, we'd have to redesign the gate to work differently.
Is the gate currently there?
Yes.
Yes.
When you see the fence and gate on the original site plan approval?
Yes.
Yes. So I'm trying to remember for that.
That was all existing, you think? It was added as part of the original project.
I mean, I
As
think
part of, was added as part of the original project. The original gate entry was farther back on site and it got pulled out to the entryway.
Right.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
was there a change after the approval? Because the approval is
Not for
showing,
the fencing or the gate. None of that has changed from the original submission.
So this drawing that you gave us isn't from the original submission?
So that rendering
Yeah,
was the concept for how we would screen the equipment
From the originals,
from the
the
original.
original
Right.
approved project.
I was just wondering where the fence was in the original approved project, like the chain link one.
It was, but it
The
was.
chain link is, but now we're asking to apply some screening on top of that. In lieu of trying to build the louver wall that you see here, which has become difficult to build with all the equipment that's in place and some of the parameters from National Grid.
So, I guess. The slatted fence on either side, I think looks nice. I think it has a good presentation, a good street presence. We have to figure out something because I don't think that chain link fence gate is something that's gonna work.
Is there a slatted material that would be acceptable if it wasn't plastic, if it was something more rigid, more?
What if the slats weren't in there? What if we just had our chain link fence? Why do you have a problem with that?
Because then you would see all the equipment that's no longer screened against the building, right?
You don't want to see the transformer, you don't want to see.
Yeah, that was the initial reason for that screen fence. So it's kind of, you gotta do it to screen it, but that screening material, if it's what looks like the other side, I think works. So that's why I was asking.
So you want us to look for something that's consistent with this orientation and coloring, correct?
Yeah, ideally, yes.
So the question, Nick, is that screen well enough? Looking to the fences. Which one?
This aspect?
Is that good enough or not?
If that's what it truly looks like, I think it would be best if we saw what it was, like the material, because from this drawing, I can't determine if it's 4-inch pieces with 4-inch gap, or if it's a 2-inch piece with a 1-inch gap, or I don't know what product that is.
There are options where you can decrease the gap.
So I think we would want to see in a drawing what you're actually going to do and have the rendering resemble that drawing. Because that's obviously a well-developed rendering. And if we were to approve it, but then you install a different gap, it may not show like that rendering. Right?
So you want more of a solid here. Do you?
Well,
I like the way that it looks now.
I don't think that's what you're saying.
I just don't know what the thing is.
Give us a technical drawing of what that fencing is, so that we understand what the slat sizes are, what the gap between them are, what the materials are.
The detailed out elevation.
Yeah, and give us a section right through it.
Like,
Jeff, can we get that information from the manufacturer?
so right now, are
Yeah.
you planning on leaving that clear anodized metal, or are you planning on providing like a finished painted color?
A finished color, finished painted color.
So to know that color also, just so we would be able to see what the finished product is. Because like this shows the options, but this shows it tight as tight could be, no see-through at all.
Right.
So we would just want to see what your gapping is.
Yeah, give us that technical information. You can get a sample manufactured.
It's a dated version.
What is the extent of this screen fencing on the site?
Okay, so
The entire,
the fencing would go to this corner on the left side as we're looking at it, because next to it is a swale. There's cattails all down through there. So on the other side, we would go, I think it's something like 50 or 60 feet. And then there's some retention ponds on this side of the property, again with cattails, and you couldn't see the fence anyways from the surface.
So out to the edge. or the fire center. Yes, it's no fire, they are into the parking area. Since it's here.
You have a plan, right? You have a plan, I see.
Yeah, we have a plan submitted, we have some copies here. We can go back.
I think you've already got it.
It's, see here. Good at zooming in on this.
Yeah, at the bottom, right? Glass. Yeah, you're gonna have to use the.
So it runs from this edge here.
Not the down, I think I need to go back to the, it's to the left. There you go.
Yeah, that's the fence.
Yeah, so all the way along the face.
No.
I'm sorry, out here, I'm sorry, right. That corner line there. Then you have the rolling gate. Then it comes down here to this edge. From the perspective,
So what is the balance of the fence?
chain link. It's all chain link fences there. We're adding something in front of it.
Chain link surrounds the entire. So you have it, just for clarity, a chain link that runs up, and then you're adding the screen wall in front of the chain link.
That's right.
It's not in place of the chain link, it's in front of the.
It's
chain
in
link.
front of it for
You
the.
have a chain link running behind it.
Right, so the chain link was what was on the original submission.
Right.
We're still doing it. It's there now. And we're proposing adding screening in front of it.
And the screening is there for the purpose of screening the equipment on the other side.
These pieces of equipment that are on the face of the building.
So we have a limited length of fence that we're addressing up there. I think,
It will be visible from.
right, in there and purposes of what they're doing, but
Which is what the idea was originally. We were going to
Yep.
do enough.
that screen wall that we were talking about.
Exactly,
Yep.
to get us to this last piece of equipment.
So
I'm
I think
taking it a
getting the
little
technical
farther.
drawings for that fencing. Figuring out what other options exist for the end gate in there. Getting all of that information to us, I think we can look. You know, if we need to amend the site plan, if there are any other concerns, we can do that. Hopefully next meeting.
I mean, it sounds minor.
Right, so can you get all that material into his office? I mean, if our next meeting is the 25th. He would need that material no later than next Thursday.
Yes. Yeah, we could do that.
By 3 p.m. next Thursday, you need to have that material, and I would then suggest. At the meeting on the 25th, having materials in hand with color.
Physical samples.
Physical samples in here for the board to look at.
Okay.
And then, you know, if you have other ideas or if you want to bounce off some entry gate ideas, you know, filter them through Doug, you can get us whatever we need. You know, so if you want a quick feedback, you don't need to wait until the 25th. Send it to Doug, he can distribute to the board, we can get some quick feedback to you.
Okay, yeah, that would be great.
But I want you to look at that gate again.
Yeah.
What can be done for that one?
This submission does have some landscaping plans.
Yes, oh, yes, thank you, that was the other.
The other part of it is.
Other part of it is, yeah, so if you can just cover those real quick, because I do wanna. Push along,
Yeah.
So, a couple more to go tonight. 3 more. So,
So you can see from the original, when we had a concept, it was some conifer type originally to show. That's been changed with the red maples here that you see. 1, 2, 3, and I think another 3 on this side. But actually, when they're fully blossomed, really does provide much more coverage. Because we stopped right at the louver height. So we've added these trees in.
They're the trees that are already there?
so those
These are new.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you keep the 3 trees that were there, the
Yes.
3 large trees?
still there.
Okay.
Now, can I make a pitch? Joe McDonald, the principal engineer. So we're not given a certificate of occupancy. if we get this approval of this material, for this gate and this view, we're really looking to bring in equipment, the building is built, and start bringing in equipment to the building. It's an unoccupied space, it's all equipment space. It's like an 8 to 12 week lead time to get this equipment in. It is for additional service, 911 coverage for the area. Could we ask for that, the possibility to proceed?
I think we're looking at the 25th, right? Are there any other outstanding issues other than addressing this?
Is there? No.
So let's get this addressed on the 25th, and then sounds like it's in Doug's hands at that point.
Okay, thank you.
There an actual landscaping plan showing the location of those?
That's what was
And then
submitted.
the time, that PCs of the
Yeah,
plans.
plan schedule, the whole thing.
Okay.
Could you show us that? Sure.
It's the second page.
There.
So that's. And then it's got, so the tree plantings are there. The original trees are there. And then you have the scheduled plants that are going in, or proposed to be going.
So we get these changes to you by next Thursday. What's the process for approval?
We would amend, you already have an approved site plan, this is an opinion for that site plan. But he gets in, we take a look at it, if there are no other issues. And we bring the material to us, and we can approve the materials, that's why I'm saying, if you have other ideas and steps of proposal, with that address. The 25th, we can look to amend the existing approvals to incorporate these modifications. Sounds like at that point, if there are no other issues on site. You guys can move forward. Maybe just not showing materials in the workshop. Well, they wouldn't have the material. Yeah, they would. Like. Right, because it's the, yeah, have the material in, you can, well.
Sample.
At our workshop, nobody's, how are you gonna look at the material? Everybody's remote. I'm the only one that comes in. You guys start bringing us on. That's the only one that'll eat them.
You use the full width of that gate to get traffic in and out? The full.
It's an automatic gate, so when a vehicle comes up and like we can badge in if we're Verizon employees, or they call into the control room and they're allowed in, the gate opens fully. There's no opening at halfway.
Right, so do you need the full width of the gate though?
Yes.
Because I was thinking you could take this false front and have it come further in and only put this new finish on the gate that you're worried about weight in the spot that will be exposed from the false finish.
Yeah,
Unless you need that full width of the gate.
it retracts all the way to the corner of the fence line.
Yeah, maybe you're not understanding what I'm saying. I understand.
Can we stop halfway? Can we stop halfway?
Yeah, but the gate is like for two big vehicles to pass. Do they need that? Yeah.
Okay, you good?
Thank you.
We are, thank you.
Thank you.
I didn't get your name.
John and Doug.
It was too easy.
Yeah, I was around for the 2020 when we did the virtual Zooms.
And then Jeff, who was on Zoom, was,
He's with AVEN.
what's his last name?
Jeff Indivero, Indivero.
Got it.
Okay. Thank you, and don't forget your jump drive.
Yep, thank you.
There. Appreciate it. Numbers.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Your hall? Yes. So the U-Haul looked at. You know, the changes that were made. Other safety reasons.
No, that's when I couldn't see it. I left my computer, and I have to do. So he has to download the file, use the computer still. He could do it today if there's three, but I was studying while it's going through. I have him like slide 15. And I gotta see if I can connect them. Which I definitely didn't think. Get the drive. You like a drive?
I haven't tried.
Oh, yeah.
So technical difficulties tonight.
It should have shown up by now.
You have 6 more seconds.
Yeah, right?
You might have to try it again.
Do you have this drawing on drawing?
We have all of our updates.
I don't think we do have what you said. You just said it.
Well, we're just.
No, it's not before. You had them as part of the original packet. Everything was on the original part.
The drawing I just saw looked different than what I've seen before, but.
No, same drawing, same, nothing's changed.
I proceed.
So,
I have no idea why this is not popping up.
Could I take that most back?
Yes.
Yeah, everything's the same. Nothing's changed.
So my name is Austin Shirley. I'm here representing Austin Shirley. I'm a project manager for Shirley. Yep.
Thank you.
I'm a project manager for C2C Construction Solutions. Here representing the GC firm. I'm here accompanied with Brett Lindsay, the district owner's rep for U-Haul. And we're just here to present. We've got 4 facade structures and basically just exterior painting of the building. So, just, we currently have a building permit status that's pending. So,
Want to cover? So, yeah, so, you know, when this came in and we went out, if you go back to the survey on this site, if you look in the lower right-hand corner, there's a series of storage units that approach the, property line. Right, the orange units. Can I just, so what, can you just refresh the board as to how this all came about? Why they're, well, C2 called looking for a building permit to do the work, to do the facade work, which has already been approved.
No.
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 No, okay,
No,
so that's,
there's an old approval from several years ago.
right, so
No,
that's
this is
part
new
of what
stuff.
we need.
Yeah.
In here is to look at the, and that's part of this concept, is to look at the updated rendering or the updated elevation work that you need to do there, because that wasn't part of the original approval.
From 2015.
So there's the survey, there's Thompson Road. You look in the upper right-hand corner, storage units don't show. You go back to the photo, the storage units.
The orange ones at the
Yeah,
front.
right. Yeah. And those in there, so there's two parts, two things that we're gonna wanna look at. This is part of the discussion that we're gonna look at today is the modifications to the elevation. The differences between that 2015 approval and what you're seeking now. And then the deficiencies, because there was a lot of discussion around where you could park vehicles, where they can be stored, you know, the overall site layout. Those temporary storage units were not part of the 2015 approval. And they encroach on the side yard lot line there. Even if they are temporary, there's no, that should be parking per the 2015 approval. There should be striped parking spots underneath them, which there's not, indicating to us that they're more permanent in nature. They have, it looks to be a concrete foundation or
No, wood.
pad or something.
All wood. It's all a wooden structure, the entire thing.
So those are in non-conformance. They're not allowed to be there at all. So that's part of one of the deficiencies in there. And then I think the other thing that we need to address is the elevation. So you go through and show us the elevation, show us what you are thinking about doing. You can't just issue a building permit, it has to go through, you know, the proper channels and approvals, but I can say right now, none of those will be approvable until the deficiencies are cleaned up and enhanced on this. So if there are any issues, i.e. those storage units, you can't progress anything until that site is.
Doug, do you know if there are any other deficiencies from the prior approval?
I do not. We have to research that a little bit. You wanna walk through the elevations at this point?
yeah, we can go through these. So the picture up top represents what it looks like now, and obviously the bigger pictures. What is changing, the facade structures are only 1 foot above are going to be 1 foot above the existing roof line. So there's no main structure changes to the roofs, these have all been preliminary drawn details. And stamped as of May 2023. So we've already been through a preliminary structural design with web engineering. So basically, there's 2 facade structures on the road side, which would be the east side. And then these 2 structures, facade structures here.
That doesn't change, that's just. Metal.
When you say structure, do you mean like a marquee or like a panel? Is that
No,
what-
it's just the architectural,
Oh,
no, it's just a architectural looking metal skin that goes over hat channels.
So it's a metal panel over the brick?
Yes.
Correct, yes. I have an actual in my flash drive. Is there a way we can go back to my flash drive?
Did you get the flat drive to work?
No.
It's in the file, it's what everything that was submitted.
I'll be back here.
Structural detail, the same drawings.
That's all.
I don't know if it's in there, they don't have it on there. In the file yet.
What is the reason for the skin? Is there like a function for the skin?
No, it's just basically what the client wanted.
Oh, you're just looking for problems with that brick. I'm sorry, I'm a facade person. I'm like,
The problem that we're faced with this is it's an old industrial building and it looks like an old industrial building. So,
it's big brick.
yeah, but it's been painted and it's, the issue is that the mildew will not come off the face of the brick. That's why they're dealing. They pressure washed it, they acid washed it to the point where it actually started to eat away at the corner of the joints to try to get the big mildew out of it. If you show, go back to the drawings. I mean, you can see it even on the facade. This entire thing is still to the point, and we've had commercial painters come out there and try to pressure wash this to get this cleaned up and trying to come up with an idea that we can actually make that. This entire front, so is like that.
So I'm confused. Are you looking to paint the stone also?
Not at this point, we're not.
So
Not anything of the concrete facade, no. Just the existing masonry.
So what we're looking at is stone, concrete to the left.
Right.
Concrete to the right.
Right.
You've got the application where it says all storage, the white box that's in there. Plus the brown box at the far end. Look at the left side of it.
Yep.
Right, plus the big red doors. All of them. And then on the right hand side, it's the band across the
Overhead doors.
Overhead
Yep,
doors.
the 5 overhead
the
doors.
round.
Yes.
Those are the building elements that we are looking at. Right, so I think what we want to know and look at is what was approved in 2015. With that facade treatment was, what you're looking at doing here. Actual elevations, materials.
This was, it's not
right,
because we're going so much, but this is what was approved. You had the green bar across the top that was approved. And you can see that staining on this building here. On the front where we're wanted to paint that. But basically, what you see right here is what was approved in that 2015.
Right, so I think that's part of what we'll want to look at is that 2015 submission.
Well, that's what I did is I asked, I finally got, I forget who it was, the guy involved sent me the electronic copies of the site plan. So it was a site plan, I think it was 15, and then there was amendment to that site plan in 2016.
Right.
That was done on that property.
Yep, so we'll have to do our due diligence in terms of looking at that, what those are, with formal submissions, so you get go through the checklist of all the items that we will need in order to review this. So elevations, materials, sections,
All's been turned in, everything is there.
everything's there.
You have everything.
All that stuff there.
All the way, this has been going on since August, we've submitted this.
So a couple of things that I remember from the 2015-16 approvals was the general board, the sentiment was you've got kind of the back of the house, back of the property where some of these other architectural features were being developed, but it was really about being sensitive to the original building at the front. And a lot of what was discussed at the time was really trying to repair and preserve and enhance, but kind of keep that original architectural vocabulary. So this is we're going kind of departing from that again in this approach, right?
Not at all. We're trying to actually enhance it. The big thing what they were talking about in 2015 with the town of DeWitt is the stone. Not the yellow brick or that, was more of the stone in front of the building was what they wanted to preserve. That's why we were limited to the 2 signs that we have there and nothing more. If you remember, they tried to put up lifestyle. You remember the full lifestyle?
Is
Were
that
you
the-
part of the board then?
Is that the diagonal things they have?
No, that was on there too. That was gonna be,
Awful.
that was to the back section. That was gonna be this whole section back here was the diners. But they had, do you remember, were you part of the board then? Do you remember the huge lifestyle of the image? That was the full size of this? Yeah, they had like a huge person here that covered these windows.
I mainly remember that.
You were here,
I mainly remember the design,
Well, they had put it up, see, what happened with this project is I came in right at the, for me, probably the wrong time. Because it was after a lot of what had been done was not the way that they should have went about it. So then I got brought on and I kind of ironed out everything and worked through it with the town to get everything to where we needed to be. And then, I mean, we went through a lot of board meetings then, because that was, if you remember the trees. So, because they went in and they cut to the left side of the property.
Yes, they clear cut.
To bring the board up.
So
I don't know. So over here to this side behind that old abandoned gas station is now an empty lot.
Right.
At the time, this was all trees. So when I got brought onto this project was they had went in and they
clear cut all the trees.
clear cut everything. So
I think we've got a lot of work to necessarily do as a group here.
I wish my flash drive was working, cause I could show you a cross section of the details we went through.
All that's there, it can get
It's all been there. We've
So I
done,
think conceptually, there's things that, we'll have to look at and talk about with the attic garage doors. You have a lot of signage on this building, which is not gonna be approvable unless how it would be approvable.
well, making it variances, but
Variances, right, but,
you have to see what was approved before.
What are those ramps in the front service?
ADA door. Yeah, that's an ADA.
so if you have all this material in, and start to look at it, and get it circulated. I would suggest that you come in for a work session, we talk about all the issues and your plan of correction in here and how we can get you to an approval.
Right.
It's gonna take a little bit of work on your part.
This signage was approved, that used to be black and it was here on the old, when you look at your the site plan amendment.
Let's
and
take
that-
it
The
off.
signage to the left wasn't on there.
Right, but when you
This
take it off
over
the
the
wall,
window.
it doesn't mean that you can just slide it
No,
over
I didn't,
something else.
no, this isn't done yet.
Right, that's what we're saying. I don't think that signage on the left was on the original.
This, no.
Yeah.
That wasn't, that sign wasn't, this wasn't. This is where that green bar that I told you said drive-in self-storage was here, was green here instead of this material.
Yeah, so
That's the thing you gotta just keep in mind here is when you modify that signage. That variance or the approval doesn't carry with it.
It
Right.
depends if it's a variance, but the approved.
The approval doesn't get, so we'd have to go back and do that whole extra.
Right, right, I understand.
We'll talk about all.
These guys were handling everything for us,
yeah, we're just basically there for the facade structures and painting of the building for scope of work.
Yeah,
We have
so.
we have no changes, we have no scope of work to do with any kind of site work. It's just all on the building.
So I think, and that's fine, that's between you guys to kind of work out, but there are clean hands issues that we gotta address on here before we can even get to approval on that. And then on top of that, there are things that we're gonna wanna talk about that we don't necessarily need to do, because we could spend, another half hour, 45 minutes talking about this, but I still got 2 more people behind you that I got to get through, so I'd like to bring you in for a work session. Once we have that plan of attack, once we have an opportunity to kind of look at this material a little bit more in depth.
I guess my only frustration with this whole thing is we've been going through this since May and June. We applied for our permit that long ago. We're finally here, January of 2024, finally sitting in front of
So,
it.
hey,
I don't understand why we weren't here 4 or 5
I
months
wish I
ago.
had an answer for you. This is
Because we would
first
be,
that we're really hearing about you all right now. I mean, we've had,
I can't believe it. I mean, when was that permit submitted?
So August 25th.
Yeah.
so,
Reset, we're gonna get you a work session.
we're gonna work through it. We're gonna get you there as fast as we can. You know, so the next, you know,
We got the permit today. So the new permit, updated permit, or new updated title is being done right now on that property.
A new permit from who? What, like-
Title, I'm sorry.
so
A new.
I have a new title because the survey was so old. So the survey company's, oh, we need a new title.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, that's how this has been, so, and I got 3 other projects going, so I
So
gotta
you're
go back
We
into
are,
this one, it's
we
like.
have scheduled to get the updated survey done.
okay, so
We've
you're,
done our due diligence to get ahead of the game.
and that's fine. Doesn't give you, if he hasn't already, the submission deadlines and all that for track A, you gotta go to track A. So it's gonna give you all of those deadlines you've gotta hit in there, we'll get you for work session, we'll get you preliminaries. But it's gonna take some work on your part, it's gonna take some work together to get this done as quick as we can. Right, I'll be up there. Right? Okay. So they don't have the dates, give the dates. Just make sure you hit those deadlines, and what we have to do to. For what it's worth, these guys have other jobs in the town. Yeah. From a constructive standpoint. Good. Okay, good successful one.
When would we approximately have the work session?
So
Coming up.
the track day work session. Next track day work session, it's gonna be 6th.
February 6th. I don't know if it's a policy, you said.
It could be calling, or it could be a person. Just, we'll have material up. You know, for the president, so it's be a topic, some of these issues. a little bit more in depth. We need the time. Solution. Stuff. Doug, opportunity to put together a list of it.
Yeah.
So, get you on 6th. 8th agenda. Preliminary review at that point. Any updates to that, final submission and. Extracting submission.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you.
Get your crappy
I know.
zip guide there.
I know.
Alright, storage.
You're working. There, so.
Yeah, the same speech.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's a concept review, so let's get the.
Yeah, just wanted, I'm from Benchmark Development, Michael Charles. This is Christian Freeman, from Pennsylvania Freeman, there are several. We just wanted to briefly introduce the storage project that we're proposing for Kirkville Road, next to Amazon. Benchmark is a regional developer out of the Berkshires. We do work in Central Mass. We've been doing work at Central New York. We've been working here for about 7 years. This project is a mix of climate controlled storage and non-climate controlled storage and enclosed RV storage. Christian will actually walk through the various slides that we have. Again, we're just presenting the project, the scope, the scale, some of the materials that we're using for the elevations.
Are we allowed to?
I'll let him just read the slides.
Yes, so, good catch, Jamie. Yes, this is a compliant use. So as you can see, well, it's high tech, the storage, so it's a compliant use. I'm gonna talk fast here. We got 481 Kirkville Road and the Robert Street extension. This is a larger parcel. We'll have to go through subdivision. So we're gonna basically cut a chunk of this off. And this is the part we're developing. I'll skip the site prep, but I will note We have undergone wetlands investigations. We have mapping, it's filed. The bright green is the buffer area. This area back here is the wetland edge, so it's a state wetland, so we have that 100-foot buffer that we have to kind of keep in mind. I coordinated, thank you to the town of DeWitt Water Department. We discovered there are easements here that we can connect to, both water and sanitary, which is helpful. They don't exist perfectly in the middle of the street, nor on our side and in the right of way, but there are pieces of this water and sanitary line we can connect to without really disturbing it, but they are in an easement, so we by right have access to connect to them. Let's talk about the development. So I incorrectly noted it was more phases than it is. It will be 2 phases. So we have here is this larger building. It's gonna have drive-through storage. It's 47,000 square feet. The first phase of the project will be this box of it I'm circling. We're calling that building 1. And then these 3 lower buildings. So not as I wrote on the application, it's not 5 phases, it's 2 phases. So one more time, this piece of the drive-through building, all the parking and asphalt and subsurface storm and all that. And these 3 lower buildings along with an RV dump station where you can get rid of your gray water, groundwater. We'll have a drain there that goes to sanitary and a water, like a little hose bib kind of thing for cleaning stuff. This building here, the biggest one, as I said, has a drive-through building for the storage, and it also has offices within it. Michael, maybe I'll have you jump on and just quickly describe how that usage works.
Right, so the offices are really just micro offices, incubator space, either for individuals who are just looking for a small temporary office. Or in most cases, they'll probably be associated with some of the storage rental spaces. So if it's contractor renting a contractor base, sometimes they need a temporary office somewhere else that they can just do some quick stand-up meetings. So they're small offices, they're generally not gonna be occupied 5 days a week. But that's the use, and there's, I think, 26 of them perhaps.
Yes, so we have, 6,300 square feet of offices. Our parking is compliant, our setbacks are compliant. We're looking to do this with no variances, and we'll prove it to you with our chart and all that stuff. I'm just trying to fly through here. This building here is an RV storage building, but you won't see the RVs because they're gonna kind of back into these angled, this sawtooth edge that doesn't face the road. They're gonna back in here and then drive around. If they have to dump their effluent and gray water, they can do that through the station and then pull out. Through here, we're going to have fencing along Roberts and Kirkville. This section of the fencing will be ornamental. It'll have 2 slide gates. At the entrance to each slide gate will be a hydrant and a Knox box, and we're currently discussing this with fire, just to make sure that they're okay with it and they like it. So the name of the game is that a fire truck can come in both entrances, there's wide enough access for a fire truck to come around the perimeter of the site.
I stop for a
Sure.
minute.
Sure.
RV storage. Think about whether that falls under the definition of self-storage. Because we have gotten into things in the high-tech district that we did not allow vehicular storage. I believe that is gonna fall under a separate category.
Okay.
I thought it was exposed vehicular storage, like this is completely enclosed.
Right.
I'm gonna have to,
Okay.
Sure.
I'm just saying.
Nope.
But
this
if,
is the
but if an
first I've
RV
heard of
that
that.
has a fuel tank, right?
Right.
I think that's why, because of the fuel tank.
There's a lot of things we have
Right.
about vehicles and vehicle storage,
Yeah.
and should not name.
No, no,
I'm
but-
just hearing it for the first time, it's just popping out at me, I'm not, yeah.
Noted. It'll be subsurface storm, and then we'll have to get a special permit to outlay here. This is kind of customary, that's normal. Other than that, let me think of if there's anything beyond that. There will be a monument sign on the corner here. Our property line, oddly enough, bumps out there. We won't be, we'll be within setbacks and it'll be per town code. We haven't gotten to designing the sign stuff, but we've gotten pretty far.
Like in different buildings. Mhm.
Things to consider on this one. That road, it's an Amazon road, it's not a town road, so you need access agreement.
I believe, okay,
Cross that one. I'd like you to have a drawing and demonstrate any of your auto turn
we will.
on there. I want to make sure, I mean, a lot of these storage things get pretty tight in there. Anybody with a U-Haul trailer, U-Haul people right there. Trying to get around any of this stuff, make sure that they're sufficient in there. I want you to consider the fact that this isn't high tech in our standards, thank you. For what it is, I mean, I don't think we're looking for like corrugated siding and, you know, what a typical self-storage, you know, this should emulate a high-tech set of buildings. It should not look like a storage facility.
Well, thank you.
Right, so that needs to be a consideration and demonstrated for the board. They meet those standards. How big is the 47,000 square foot building, just a single story building?
3 stories.
3 stories.
Yeah, and I have, they're early going yet, but we have elevations too, let's pop over quick. Yeah, it's kind of, it's where we're at, it's early going, so I'm sure we have materials and stuff, I don't think it's on here yet.
No, I mean, combination of materials, if you're looking at the building in the top left corner, for instance, you know, combination of corrugated metal. Cultured stone, this flat metal panel, so it's trying to get some more articulation of the surface. So it doesn't just look like it's flat surface, obviously, with windows.
Yeah. Make sure you take a look at the design standards. So just look at the design standards.
Yeah.
Allow materials, understand. You are under construction.
Yeah.
Just curious about the incubator. Is that part of the formula for the success of this site? Like, how does that work?
It is, it's unusual actually for the self-storage facilities that operate that we have is United Storage Group that may and lots and most of their locations actually have found there's just this sort of ever-present need for both conference room space, which we have in our retail space, and just small short-term office space. You wouldn't think that it would normally know this, but when we've looked at their stats and all the other properties, they're fully leased. And for at least the standard length of the storage spaces. So there's obviously need in the market from the Berkshires and a lot of people working out of their homes and just lots of people looking for smaller offices. They're not necessarily there all the time. They want some place to get out of the house. And then there's the other contractors who are on the road all the time. They need someplace other than the back of their truck. So roll out drawings, talk to subs, deal with ordering. So it's really not a full-time use office, but it's a nice thing to have. And I think they just, people have just seen it as part of their cost of doing business now. So they're always leased up.
So there's no exterior parking,
But say that again.
no exterior parking.
There's parking around the building.
Ran into this problem, small offices like the, over there, where they had all the car signs. You know, they get out a small office.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And now they're selling to used car.
No. It's more.
It's
than-
happened,
no.
I mean.
That was 50 years.
Yeah,
Without cars.
and I think it still exists, but not gonna ever happen.
Mark, you might recall, but just sort of the proven moment, we had a Virgin Grow project in Cicero. One iteration we had was, we were calling it flex space, but it's sort of for, the idea was for like a mom and pop style like plumber or something, they were garage units with a small office component, it's sort of different, but it kind of proves that there's other people doing this. Who are interested in doing something similar to this, even though it's, not typical.
That's a-
Relate for the conversation.
I mean, Bill, they might. I guess. I mean, how close are you to the property line with your pavement business? I'm not seeing much in the way of landscaping.
Correct, so.
Foundation plantings.
Yeah, I mean, this is.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're early going, so Amazon was, we're taking assumptions here, as Nathan was saying, like, we have to clarify this access, but they planted both sides of the street here, and these trees are. Pretty mature, they're a few years in, and most of them look pretty good. So it'd be in our best interest, and we think yours, to keep a lot of those. That doesn't mean we have to do nothing, but I think it means certainly by way of our access street landscaping, some of that would come sort of pre-canned.
Security, I'm assuming you'll have a fence around this.
Fenced and gated, electronic access.
Yeah.
For the clients to have really all the time have access, getting into the building, it's the same thing, key code.
Fencing is gonna be, critical. Same on this, I mean, you're right up against 481, you're very visible. I don't wanna see chain link with barbed wire across the top of it, I mean.
The question will be the question will be, what are the appropriate uses for around the entire site? He was identifying along Robertson, along Kirkville, already assuming ornamental. Then you've got the other two sides, so the question is, what's appropriate for
I
those?
mean, I would say it's a highly visible side, 41. I mean, that whole corridor is something that we've been working on for a long period of time. I would like to see the aesthetic in there be consistent, so. I would probably point you towards an ornamental in that sense.
And for what it's worth, in the past, I can't say I have, but our firm has, done fencing in the wetlands to post hole. So you're not really impacting, and that's legally allowed, and the reason we're doing that and showing that is for snow storage. So that when we plow and stuff, we can use this area here, this is my fence edge right there, chain for
Yeah,
these.
that kind of moves.
Yeah.
That's fine, I just know with these facilities you have. The perimeter fencing.
And it's 481 above the buildings there, so just when we get to the exterior, what you have on the roof and how you're.
Good point. So what we're actually looking at is this little, there's like I don't even wanna call it a walk, it's very small, it's minimal, but it's a curved sort of sidewalk that goes around the buildings, and in terms of units on the building, I believe we're gonna try and put them kind of on the ground. And then you're thinking on this side over here.
Groupings of,
Yeah.
And what's the neighbor to that side, just?
There you go. So we're the dark right here.
Yeah, I mean, those are just people screen them. Make sure they're not visible.
So you're pushing your snow and your ugly stuff to where the traffic is. But I'm just.
well, snow, I mean, there's nothing else to snow. We're not
Well, I
putting
mean,
anything else up there.
we could think about some kind of an at-grade, be it landscaping or something, we could think this through.
Yeah, I mean,
We hear you.
it's early,
Yeah.
it's a prominent corner, we got Amazon that just went in right there, you're gonna put something here. Let's make it as beautiful as we possibly can.
Right, and I don't wanna bring
In that corridor.
too much whining to the table early goings, because we're the first meeting, but we are using a site that has, much of it's already encumbered with wetlands, so we're maximizing what we can with the site.
I get your point, because that's why we like the site.
Yeah.
It's a postcard site. A lot of visibility, it reflects on us.
Yep,
So,
well, it's gonna reflect on us as well.
Right.
So, okay,
so then process wise,
Yeah, timeline.
are we able to get into a work session process
So
where?
I think we need review.
I think we need review.
We need a concept, we need a concept review, a codes review.
Those materials have
You know,
been provided.
subdivision. Well, the subdivision, we haven't even seen yet, right? Mark will review the subdivision.
How about an Amazon verification? I feel like that's good.
getting that access clarified early. Yeah, that's a good point.
So get a lot of that stuff in line and let, Doug's office kind of take a look at if they need to, and yeah, we'll get you in, we'll do a work session.
Wonderful. And just for the record, Doug, the plans I submitted were before my discussion with water, so our utility connections are a little bit more in concept, so. So should be a good deal for us.
Good.
All right, great.
Thank you guys, appreciate it.
You.
Thank you for being such a fast talker.
We all got something to look forward to getting on with.
Good evening.
How are you?
I'm having, my first time, pleasure. My name is Darlene McDonald Hackworth. I've been with Vern for about a year and a couple of months. And I'm joined tonight by Ken Carter, who's been with Vern for almost 50 years. Yeah. So, let's see, yeah, this is the. So originally, I thought this was going to be a really easy process. I just wanted to sign. Sometime in October, I believe, we had a painter in, and they were sanding, and they didn't cover the smoke. So before we could call Eastern to say it was a false alarm, the Syracuse Fire Department showed up, and they came through and said that they were confused because originally they knew the building to be the American Cancer Society. And we had no signage on the building, and so there were a couple of things that they suggested. We implemented the Knox box, we walked them through the building, and the signage was one of the things that was last on the list. So in the course of preparing the permit for the sign, Doug's office mentioned that the survey that I received did not include the gravel driveway. And that was an oversight on my part. I got this survey, and lo and behold, I didn't know that the gravel driveway was put in after a blockade on Benedict's years. And the dairy trucks couldn't go out while the police responded to a particular house. So the gravel drive went in, and Doug brought it to my attention that it was never part of a site plan. So in the course of doing the permit, I had to include the gravel. So on this particular site plan, you'll see the before conditions, which included, I guess it's called early, growth trees or whatever. That existed between the end of the plant side environment to where we are over here. This was the former American Cancer Society. And so this drawing showed the plan to put that new access road, the gravel access road in. And this shows the gravel access road currently. And that's a Google map showing the over. So we're all there.
So someone had it designed, or did you just do the design after the fact?
Now, this was actually during the expansion. All of this emergency came out during the expansion, and it was part of change order. And Boyd, this was Pell Osborne, and who was the firm that actually did it?
Drawing, Interquake did the work. Are you were saying like who put the gravel in?
Wow, yeah, so it was put in during that
I
time.
can tell you that.
Thank you.
Issue we have is cross access between two separate parcels. which are not contiguous. It's not right the same way, so.
You said not?
Correct.
They are. Byrne owns this building.
But it's not one person. They're across.
The survey that
So-
was shown right here. This is the current survey for 6725 Lion Street.
Right.
And there exists a survey for 6750.
Right, they're two separate parcels. They may be owned by the same person. They're two separate parcels. You created access between the two of them. For trucks to drive across.
Not
An
necessarily.
emergency exit is what it was built for, but we were locked in and our employees couldn't leave or come. The police department, the fire department recommended we put an access road and it's just what we did.
Is that access road, something that they requested? Is this?
They requested because we were locked in, they couldn't get in, right?
You were
Because
locked
Benedict
in?
Road was blocked off for 6 to 8 hours and our employees couldn't leave or come to work. Just because of that home on Benedict Road.
But how did they block a public road? How do
There
you?
was a standoff, a police
There was
standoff.
a gun stand
Okay,
out
I
there,
got you.
corner home, which is, they recently passed.
That house,
You know, the White
Yes.
House on the corner.
that house.
I'm just trying to understand.
I don't know that house,
Okay.
yeah.
It's okay. The occupants recently passed away.
Oh.
Right.
So, yeah, so if this is a road that is being built and then approved because it is an emergency access road, then it would have to be designed in conformance with emergency access road, and I would presume it would have to connect the two lots as you're describing.
Right.
It would
And
have-
be maintained.
And
year-round.
maintained in that reason, but if it's really just a convenience, if it's a shortcut between the two properties, I think that's kind of a different design road, like. If it's an emergency access road, is a gravel road really up to code standards?
Well, you can actually, I think. Yeah, this drawing shows
Town standards for
the details for the road. I mean,
should be a. Sure. Aid.
Oh, it's a driveway, it's
It's a
not a
driveway.
road.
I'm not aware. I mean, Chase hasn't come to me and said. I demanded they do this.
But a fire apparatus road has to be
But
designed.
that's why we're here, is because it was done. And we thought it went through the proper channels at the time, right? Because it was done through Interway, our contract of doing the building expansion. Before we developed Lion Street. So if it's not done right, then.
I guess I'm just saying, if it's supposed to be a fire apparatus road, is it designed and built that way?
Somebody else.
It's definitely built as a stone heavy duty road.
Exactly.
So we can get those specs. and all.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah. Yes, but I don't know if that's necessarily the purpose of this, but.
So if it is gravel and it can be gravel and it is. A road for emergency access. You will need to provide an easement, cross access agreement from the Byrne property. Out to, remind me of the name of the road right there.
Lion
Line, thank you. Showing, and that would have to be a permanent, because right now, if somebody else, if Byrne decided to sell off that property, you have no access through there. So that you would need to put an easement in place to provide permanent access from Byrne to Line in there.
Can I see that survey? Just to get, I can't see it.
So the answer is no, you can't see.
Do people use this driveway now, all the time or not?
not all the time. You know, for example, I'm housed at Lion Street, 6725. At times I may go through this access road to get to the other building. Some people may walk, but we, our environmental health and safety said if you're gonna walk this, you have to put on your high vis. So that's our policy. No dairy trucks come through here. And there was one particular truck that came in by mistake. It was an auto carrier and he turned around in our lot because he didn't know any better because we didn't have a sign to say who we were. But anyway.
But so now you're putting up a sign that says Burn Dairy, so now are people saying, okay, I can get through here because the sign says Burn Dairy?
You know, I think in terms of them distinguishing the plant side from the office side, that this sign will help them. But we don't encourage folks to go through there. And I think when they see that,
I think it gives people a lot more credit than.
Yeah, do you put a little chain up in front of it so it doesn't?
You have a chain.
Yeah, usually you have a chain or something.
So I think and I don't know what fire access road standard looks like. If there is one.
Well, it's also,
So-
if, say they were doing construction out on that road out front, you would want your trucks to use this road so your production wouldn't have to slow down. You could keep doing business as usual.
if they were doing work on Fly,
If the one in front of the plant, Benedict. So Benedict Road is getting paid.
one would hope that
The
whoever's doing,
town recently, within the past 5 to 7 years, redeveloped all of Benedict Road. So that's, that Benedict Road's in pretty bad shape.
Yeah, it's all been redone.
Yeah.
So we redesigned that.
and you have to understand, if that ever happens, Intercon is affected as well as, the boiler place. So it's more than just Burn that uses Benedict Road.
Right. Say Benedict Road gets shut down for a water main break, pretend with me, something happens to Benedict Road. Burn Dairy would use this road for their trucks to keep doing business as normal.
Possibly.
Okay, so it's there. They would use it, they designed it. So now it's what would be the paperwork to make it?
I guess, I mean, if
acceptable?
it's temporary, it's, I would still put it in that kind of limited access.
Yeah, I don't think Burn will ever sell this other building, it's
Well,
adjacent to.
that we don't know. I think-
Right, she
I
just
think
gave
there-
the look.
No, I don't know the
You're right.
future, if I did.
Right.
Ooh, if we
But I think
did,
that we still need to see that cross access in place so that if you're gonna use this road. That needs to be in place, so that there is something that shows that you get emergency access from Burn to Lime.
It is on the latest survey drawing.
Well, this is the latest survey. This is-
But-
Well, it's not all the way across.
so does the,
That's just the survey line, it's not.
Yeah, it's the
there's no
survey line.
Easement language on there.
right,
Puts that in there.
But
So-
where's it going?
she recently had a fire,
If he calls down.
you recently had a fire, did the fire truck cross that road to get to your place?
Fire
Did he-
truck came off of Fly into Lions, and then we have a turnabout
Uh-huh,
in front of.
so he found you without crossing the road? Because
Right,
remember you said he
so
thought the
Lion-
building,
Lions runs across this
Yeah.
way.
yeah,
It's here, and Burns up here with the cross access. that
right,
goes
but at the
away.
beginning she said she didn't. know
His
it.
information, 911, said this was still the American Cancer Society building.
Yeah,
So when he got there,
you updated him,
right, but he said, this is what you need to do, and 911, put a lockbox and get a sign.
Mhm.
That's what I'm trying.
So I'm asking, does 911 now know about this emergency access road as well? Do you know how like we update?
Map to an address, so.
What if someone's there, though?
Right, I think, so I'm trying to get to the bottom.
Yeah, yeah.
What the point of the road is, it's emergency access, it should be available for traffic. On any other day-to-day basis, it should be gated off, and closed off for emergency access if need be. I think. Need to show that there is agreement in place to get all signage. Signage.
Right, in terms of the signage, okay, so this is Lion Street here, and the proposal is to put, just this 3x2 sign.
Yeah.
Both sides the same. Just before Christmas, I got UPS delivery with a check with the American Cancer Society. And before that, for the 6 months of last year, I was constantly going back over to the post office to get the American Cancer Society mail. Yeah, so
I'm gonna say something like for plant operations, use other interests.
No, we could, you know, if, depending on what you want, we'll do it.
You can't add we drive that. They're parking lot. It's not. So.
Yeah, but it's,
No, but if somebody's looking for your main offices, and somehow they end up here, I see where, I'm just saying, they need to be directed around, is it clear enough?
Listen,
But that's what I
before,
think chain or something on it, that just a sign.
Before they
there would
come
need to
in
be
here,
probably a sign.
they're gonna see that big monumental sign of burn just down the road.
Yeah,
So,
but they, so to some, you need to probably close that off. Emergency, signage that says for emergency.
But that's their entrance for their office building.
no, it's not. No, this is not.
No, it's.
No, I meant at the road where the sign is.
Right, so there's, that sign is the one that we see up there.
He's saying,
I'm saying by the road at the top, there should be another sign that says for emergency
Right.
access only, chained off. So that there's no day-to-day access between the two properties.
Yeah, so they would just loop around.
Yeah, so they would just go into the parking lot, go back out to Fly, go up to Benedict and into the property.
Well, I think part of this, and I just wanna put it in perspective, it is that a lot of time has been spent on the main Birdberry site. And I think that when the department of planning and zoning saw this, like, what's going on in the Birdberry site that literally we've spent years, and your people and Jim Gosier have spent years and years on that project. So we're just trying to make sure something wonky wasn't going on. So this is a good explanation of what's going on, and I think that the overall Birdberry site has to show that road.
But I do think, right, and I mean, they can speak for themselves, but I've been over to the Ultra Dairy doing some different engineering things. My understanding is that, you know, there are potential plans for more expansion, and I think business is pretty good. And my understanding is that some of the technical staff are residing in this building now because there's not enough room. So there's probably some type of whatever to go back and forth between the different facilities. So I don't know. I mean, you guys
Yeah,
can
we're
speak
trying
more
to
about it,
keep
right?
that traffic flow middle, most of them are planted in that facility, and then we're trying to get a walkway to where they can walk from one point to the other.
Like a walkway or a golf cart like you see on, you know, other big campuses, right?
we try to go, they will buy one.
Yeah. So I do think there's,
So
I mean, I do think there's some type of need to, you know, be able to allow them to use this building to get technical staff back and forth for different meetings or whatever.
Right.
I don't know.
And what that is, like, I think we have to figure it out.
But it could be like you just said, it could be like a small walkway or. Right.
So let's talk about, can we get back to you in terms of, I think we'd like to talk about it.
Sign. I do the sign for them.
We don't have it.
well, I mean, if it's part of site plan approval, technically, we can approval over the sign, but have we looked at whether it meets code? The sign?
I don't know that we have, I mean, we're gonna bring it to the whole board. I know they've been very patient, very anxious to get the sign for different activities they have going.
I mean, we'll have to look at it offline, just because everyone's brain is a little fried, and sorry that you're last, and we're usually not that bad, but I don't think I could even measure that sign right now.
Yes.
I can't see it.
But
It's not a huge sign, it just has the basic.
Wait, sign,
Yeah.
you know, we'll have to go take a look at it.
It's 3x2, if you know, like a cubicle partition, that size in 2 feet.
So we'll review the sign ASAP, how's that,
That'd be
you know,
great.
okay. And if it can be granted.
Just do it as a formality.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Then whatever you come up with, we'll just.
That's it. Any other business?
You do have the latest skull site.
In fact,
Motion to
you're
close the meeting.
right?
One, two,
The one you did have,
all in favor?
the one we didn't have,
Yeah.
didn't show that. One done.
Thank you, everyone. Sorry to give a night.
You know, that happens when we skip the meeting, it's what happened, and then, not that anyone.
We're looking at that.
But, you know, this is your first official meeting. And
But-
it's the longest one, I think, by far, we don't actually talk to the end, not 2 hours.